Um, okay. I know I promised you guys we were going to do grounding, centering, and shielding. I think you'll get a lot more out of it if I make it a separate video. So after today's class, I'm going to record myself going through the process. So you have a recording solely for that you can watch over and over. And this way you could practice it at home. You don't have to fight through this whole recording to figure out where it is, find the timestamp, take note of that, all that jazz. So your homework, because I'm getting into that habit too for you guys to have the homework, is we're gonna practice the grounding, centering, and shielding. And as we get into level one today, you'll see why that's so important. I'm gonna change my view if I can. Um, because I just have you guys as like, oh, there it is. Sorry. Da, 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 da. Cool. Okay. Just to make life a lot easier, put myself like this so on your recording it doesn't look like three black boxes. Okay, so we're going to do the grounding, centering, and shielding video. We're also going over level one today. Sorry, I was like preparing everything on 100 different devices because I need 100 different screens. Today's Usui Reiki level one. Okay, so this is the longest of all levels of Reiki. Um, we'll go into how many levels there are. You guys are only going through level two in this program. Reiki level one's the longest because it's kind of the level of due diligence. We go over the history, the foundational knowledge. It's kind of like setting you up to know how Reiki began, where it came from, how to apply it, its significance, and its application, which is how to apply it. We're gonna review the chakras a little bit just so we can kind of piggyback off of the information I gave you guys in that chakra workbook as well as last week. So when we get to the chakra section in here, you're gonna see that there's a few pages on it. It's basically just me typing out what the worksheets in that workbook already say. So if you do decide to print out just the main workbook, once I post the full thing, I think it was because it's just such a large file. So I'm gonna have to go on to like my website and delete files I don't use. I think that was probably why it hasn't been uploading because it's a very large workbook. I don't know how many, it's over 140 pages right now, and that's not even including the shamanic part. So it's probably about 200, 250 page workbook. And that doesn't include your attunement workbook, which I am going to post separately. The reason I'm going to post this separately is because you're going to use the attunement workbook, and I'll get to that at the end of today's class. Talk about the attunement. Um, and those of you who are not with us today, we will do your attunement next time I see you, whether it's for a session, whether it's in person, or the next time you're on a Zoom call. I don't want to do like a recorded attunement. I think that does you a disservice in your own journey. I'd rather you really have the experience of doing it one-on-one and having it live. Not that one's better than the other. That's just, I would love that for you because I think that's a fun experience to have. And to not experience it with your practitioner or your master, I feel like kind of robs you in a sense of the beauty of that. So if you want a recorded one, let a girl know. But I think most people like doing them via Zoom one-on-one. And that brings me to the next part of this. Well, you're going to do your attunements at the end of this. I stopped the recording prior to the attunements. Again, we'll get into what attunements are, the purpose of them, and all that. I'm going to do one of you on here. I'm going to kick the other one of you out. I'll send you a new Zoom link via text. Like Nell, I'll send you a new Zoom link and we'll do your distant attunement second. Okay. And we'll jump onto a new Zoom call. This way, one, your attunement's not recorded. It's private for you. You have that one-on-one time of that experience. It only takes about 5-10 minutes. And now I'll text you when I'm done with the first attunement, and then we will go ahead and jump onto our call and we'll do your attunement. And so just bear with me. It's good that it's only two of you guys, because that means you won't be waiting in like a big long line. But I'm not one that does group attunements, and we'll talk about that later today as well. But thumbs up, makes sense. Cool. Just a bit of housekeeping before we jump into everything.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. So, we're going to put this on Do Not Disturb or it's going to keep going off the whole time we do this. Um, I'm going to be very blunt. There's a lot of information today. I don't want to be talking at you the whole time. I want to be able to, if there's like the chakra section, I'm probably going to tell you, read it on your own at home. It's going to piggyback a lot of information we've already gone over. You'll see me paraphrase quite a bit in here. Your homework is to read through level 1. I'm going to go over the main points, but your homework is to read level 1. We're going to talk about all of it. I promise we will. But the more you read it, the more you review it on your own, the more your brain's going to be like, okay, that was a lot of information through a video call during the day. Let me review this so it actually cements. Especially if you're someone who one day wants to teach, this is the most important section to know. If you don't know the history, you don't know how to articulate to somebody in a tangible and ethereal way what Reiki is, you're probably going to struggle as you continue your practice. It's not to fearmonger, it's so you know what Reiki is. There's a lot of different types of energy healing. This is the only section that has a lot of information. Level 2 is very practical, it's very hands-on. We jump right into it. There's no real discussion. Level 2, let's put it this way, level 2 is like 10 pages, level 1's like 50. Okay, very different. Same thing with level 3. Okay, so just be mindful that your homework will be the grounding, centering, and shielding video, which I'll post later today, probably closer to later in the day because I do have clients after you guys. And then it's also going to be to read level 1. I'm going to write this down so I remember myself. Read level 1. To download, you do not have to print it, but download the attunement workbook. That will be separate. The reason I'm doing it separate is because you use the same workbook for both attunements. It's just that you have an attunement for Reiki level 1, you go through that process, an attunement for Reiki level 2, you go through that process. We'll talk about that at the end of class. We are going to walk through the hand placements for self-healing today. So you both have your cameras off. If you are not in comfy clothes, get in comfy clothes. Sit in something where you could sit cross-legged or you can move freely because we're going to be walking through the hand placements of it, and you have the hand placements in your workbook. And at the end of this, you will have to complete 3 30-minute self-healing sessions. Okay? So, what's that mean? It means that you will have to spend 30 minutes loving on yourself with some beautiful Reiki healing energy. It's not a test, it's not a quiz, but it's required in order for me to send you your certification for Reiki level 1. Okay. Once these sessions are completed, I just want you to take some notes on your experience. There is a worksheet that you guys can write the notes that you have from your self-healing. It will cover each chakra, it will cover an other section. If you just notice certain emotions, or if you just notice something that doesn't really resonate with a certain chakra or a certain part of your body, it's kind of an overall theme and you want to take note of that, you can. Please be mindful if you want to take a separate form of notes and give them to me because certain things are vulnerable on your worksheet. That is fine. I just want to make sure you're actually doing it. I just want to make sure you're actually indulging in the process. I'm not asking you to share with me, ooh, this happened in my past and it's something I'm still struggling with and I don't really want to talk about it and I have to send these notes. No, don't share that note with me. You can share a different note with me and it can either be a picture of the notes you took. You could type it up and send it in an email. You could type them in a Word document, session 1, 2, and 3, and just send that to me in one email instead of 3 separate emails. That's probably the best option. And once you do that, I'll send your certification by the end of that day. Okay. If you come in person, you rather a physical certification, just put that at the bottom of your email because I can give that to you. Otherwise, I do have a digital form. And if you have certification paper you want to print your certification on, let me know because I have ones with borders and without borders. So if you want that heavier certification paper and you want to be able to print it out, I can format it so you can do that as well. Okay. So lots of great options for you. If you want one of each, let me know that too. Okay. Any questions before I dive deep into Reiki level 1? Any questions about anything from the previous week so far? I know it was a lot of information. Haven't seen many questions other than great question. about what you should be doing out of class. I really love that. That was a big help. But if there's anything else you guys want to cover, just let me know. Nothing? Everybody's good? Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Let me make this big boy bigger, and I'm actually just going to download this document. It's going to make sharing it with you a lot easier. Um, Let me see. PDF. Spirit, you're playing some games with me today. Okay. I guess I'm gonna have to share it from here. It's saying that some of my images are broken, which just means they're not downloading. That's what I mean. I've been having some issues with it. So we're gonna go into, you're gonna see the workbook. It's a very big workbook. Okay. This is what is Reiki level 1 and 2. This is not even the complete workbook, but it is a lot of information. Okay. So we're gonna jump below where we've already started. Can you guys see this okay? Can you just let me know that? Give me a thumbs up, an emoji, something. Thank you. I appreciate you. Okay. Oh, dang it. It always does that, doesn't it? Okay. Okay. I might have to. Can you see this? It's going to have to be in this format. It won't let me download it. But you can see this okay? It doesn't look wonky or weird. Okay. Make it our call a little bigger. Okay. So let's see if it'll let me download it. Nope. Okay, that's poopy. I'll have to figure that out. I've never had this issue with Canva before, so we'll see. Okay, so we're going over Reiki level 1 today. Let's break down the purpose of these Reiki levels, right? What is the purpose of Reiki level 1, 2, and 3? Reiki level 1 focuses on the physical and self-healing. What's that mean? It's the first degree, it's your initiation into Reiki, but it focuses on your physical body. Please remember this. Reiki level 1 is your physical self. Reiki level 2 is your mental and emotional self. And Reiki level 3 is your spiritual and soul self. Okay. So basically, as you progress through the levels of Reiki, you're opening yourself, your soul, your energy up, the 5 bodies, up to higher frequencies with each attunement or each initiation into that level of Reiki. Okay. So with the first degree, this is where you're beginning to learn to open your energy channels in the body and help you connect to life force energy. This is where you practice on yourself. You do not practice on other with level 1. Level 1 is solely for the practice of self, and it's typically where we start to realize, ooh, I want to eat better, I want to drink more water, I want to exercise more, I want to start taking care of the physical vessel. Level 1 is the physical and self-healing level. So this is after your attunement, you're going to be like, whoa, like I want to do these things. You might have a real like kick in the butt from who knows what that makes you feel really motivated to focus on your physical health. Okay. It's the change in your frequency after your attunement. When you get to level 2, the mental and emotional healing, the second degree, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I can't do that format. It's going to drive me crazy because you're going to have this recorded and it's just going to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So your level 2 is going to be this process of opening up your mental and emotional body. Okay. So the mental and emotional body is going to help you to reframe distorted limiting beliefs and behaviors. It helps you clear out old emotions, but also with level 2, you start to get to this place of learning how to heal other people or to channel healing energy through you. You're always the conduit, you're not really the healer. And so this is the purpose of the second attunement. It's to awaken the mental and emotional body to these higher frequencies, which is typically the attunement that most people are like, whoa, this is way different than level one. And that's where people's lives really start shifting because the way that we think and the way that we feel is a deep reflection of the reality that we create and the relationships that we have, right? So as we get attuned through the levels of Reiki, this immense natural healing starts to happen. It starts to basically clean out anything that's not in alignment with your deepest authenticity. Level three is the master level. As when you look at Reiki, sometimes you see four levels, and the reason being is because the master level is sometimes broken into two. If you're familiar with how I teach, I have an 8-month program that's very similar to how they would do the four levels. It's basically an apprenticeship or a mentoring program. And the reason I prefer that is because with the master level, it's where you learn to teach. It's where you learn to hone in on your Reiki healing energy skills, and it's where you really learn to perfect your technique as a Reiki master. Okay, so this is how you pass attunements. You share the knowledge of Reiki, you share the experience of Reiki, and you share the journey of Reiki. I'm going to use the old workbook so you guys have something to look at today, but I can't use Canva because I feel like it's going to look really bad on your recording, and I don't want to give you a bad recording. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to level one. Either way, we're going to cover everything. Okay. Let me just continue for now. This is so poopy. The universe is really testing me today. Let's do this. Okay. Beautiful. Bear with me. I'm just getting to where I am in this. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see this? Thank you. Much better, right? Not a weird internet kind of look. Okay, cool. So what is Reiki, right? Reiki roughly translates to universal life force energy, and it's pronounced Rei Ki. Okay. The key portion is known as chi, life force, spirit, prana, divine essence, all these different labels, all from these different walks of life, all refer to the same thing. They're referring to the innate energy that runs through every single living being on this planet. Okay. So Reiki is this pulsing electricity of the universe, the solar system, the physical, mental, emotional, that basically moves through us. And it moves in a very rhythmic way, which is why we see wavelengths when we look at energy or radio waves or microwaves, all these things, right? Energy moves in a wavelength, but within every wavelength is also a vortex, right? So if you put that vortex on its side, you would see that each round, if you chop it in half, is those wavelengths. Okay, so when we start to explore the chakras, when we dive into Reiki level one, you'll hear me talk a lot about vortexes. Just know that, and level two, especially, I dive into that, but just know that's because energy moves in this very cyclic shape of a vortex. Okay. So, Reiki enhances our ability to connect with rhythmic intelligence of the universe in a more conscious way, and it's not affiliated with any type of religion. Many people believe that Reiki channels universal life force energy, and it must be based on a religious belief and system, when in fact it's simply utilizing the energy that flows within us all. So, think of it this way: when you come into this earth, you have this very pure vessel, right? And that's why when we see babies or when we see little puppies, we're like, oh my God, they're so innocent. They're so pure. They're so untouched. Their energy feels light. Their energy feels loving, right? And there's this innocence, and that innocence is really this pure energy, right? Untarnished innocence. And so what Reiki is, it's just us reconnecting with that frequency that was bestowed on us when we came into this incarnation. That is very natural for us to have. It's not religious, it's not any of it. It's just natural. It's in our DNA to house that energy, and we're just very consciously and intentionally tapping back into it. Okay. So Reiki is an incredible complementary technique that can enhance any other medical treatment. It does not replace Western medicine, and it doesn't take place of any other treatment somebody might be participating in. It's a great practice that can complement many other modalities. Okay. So just be very mindful of that. So let's see. Beautiful. I'm going through the new workbook as you guys have basically the same thing here. Um, the reason you see in this one, the highlight, it's just things that I edited that I didn't agree with necessarily. So Reiki is a method of harnessing universal life force that exists in all living things and in the world around us. It was originated in the late 1800s by Dr. Mikao Usui. So that's why it's called Usui Reiki. He's the one who founded it. And so we're born with the ability to heal others and ourselves. And in this book, you'll see that it goes on to talk a lot about when we stub our toe, how we so naturally want to grab our toe, how we want to hang on to it. We're like, oh my gosh, pain, go away, right? Or if we hit our funny bone, the first thing we do is we grab our arm and we squeeze real tight till the pain goes away, right? It's a very natural way for us to move to heal our own pain through touch, right? Which is why Reiki is a hands-on practice. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to physically touch somebody. You can have your hands hovering above them. If you've had sessions with me in person, you know, it really depends on the client for me. Some people prefer hands-on. I just don't like to lay my hands. If you want a very nerdy reason why, we have proprioceptors in our fingers, in our body. And for me, I'm very sensitive energetically. And so when I touch something, that pressure with our receptors in our skin and our hands, when we press even just the slightest bit too hard, those receptors close. It has to be the perfect amount of pressure to be light enough to sense, right? Like this I can sense, and if I just push just a tiny bit harder, it's like my hand shuts down. And it's just because those receptors close off. So hovering for me is what helps me really connect with the energy. We'll dive more into that in level 2. But just know that just because Reiki traditionally is a hands-on healing method, it does not mean that you need to place your hands on other people. In our day and age, it's not really something that is very harped on either, especially with Shlovid, COVID going around. People aren't really open to being touched as much. There's also a lot in regards to liability nowadays, sadly, and having to be very careful if you even want to have a hands-on practice. So those are things to consider as we move into level 2, but just kind of dropping the seeds for you now. So Reiki is basically intended to help people remove pain or their pain perception. Why do we say pain perception? It's because even though because basically when we stub our toe, the brain immediately is like, oh my gosh, my nerves feel something and it's unpleasant. I'm going to put this pain receptor, right? We're going to tell the body it's in pain, it's in pain. But with Reiki, you channel this very pure white light, this life force energy that's natural in you and you remind your body, no, we're pure. And it's like, oh my gosh, my pain's gone, right? You're basically learning how to program your cells, how to program your mind, how to shift your own energy, even out of very uncomfortable states, simply through touch and intention. Okay. So, moving on. So Dr. Yasui founded it, and we'll talk about Madame Takata here in a little bit. But the structure and format of Yasui Reiki was founded by Dr. Yasui. Mrs. Takata is a Hawaiian-born Japanese lady who was credited with formalizing the system. She basically made it more accessible for the Western world. She simplified it. She created these hand placements and associated every hand placement with certain diseases. So she kind of like bulked together all of these disorders and said, if you want to treat these disorders, place your hand here. If you want to treat these disorders, place your hands here. And it was just 3 sections on the front and 3 sections on the back. And so she simplified it greatly. Whereas Dr. Yasui, whose hand placements are the ones that you'll be learning, you'll also have access to Takata's practice. It's in another PDF that I'll be posting after today's lesson. for you guys on the group. You'll have access to how she did it. It's not one I dive into. There's not much information on it either. So all the information I give you is actually from Reiki.org, which is a great resource as you progress through your own Reiki journey. They have a lot of printables and documents and things of that nature for you to kind of continue expanding your knowledge. But hopefully we cover almost all the things you need to know here. So she basically simplified the format for the Western world. Okay. This Reiki course is based on traditional concept, Dr. Yusui Reiki, and that's what we're going to cover today. Okay. So as we get into the history, this is probably my favorite story. You're going to hear this story told 100 different ways. I think I even have it told another way that I learned it in the book over here. So, Reiki actually begins at the dawn of time. It was rediscovered in the late 1800s by Dr. Yusui, a Japanese scholar who believed to be a Christian minister. This I say believed to be because it's not something that is what's the word? Nobody knows the truth of it, basically. Validated. It hasn't been discredited, it hasn't been credited. It's just like some people believe he was a Christian minister, some believe he wasn't. But either way, he was very educated in regards to Christian faith, Judaism, and Buddhism. Okay, so his purpose was to explore the philosophy and theology in the world. And so he went on and he was teaching his students, and one of his students asked him, what method did Jesus use to heal the masses? And so he began this 10-year quest to find the answer. His research led him over to the US, where he got a doctorate in theology. He had no answers there and ended up taking up residence in a Zen Buddhist monastery after learning to read Sanskrit. So after years of researching through ancient scrolls, he found enough fragmented information to put most of it together. He knew that there was still some missing information and felt that he had to go through an initiation or transformation process in order to be an accomplished quote unquote healer. He went up to a mountain to fast and meditate on his findings. And the story tells how he took with him 21 river stones, and each day he discarded one stone to keep track of the days. On the 21st day, he was enveloped by a pillar of white light and had visions in which he received the sacred symbols and his attunement, the key element to Reiki. He arose and descended the mountain, resolved to go forth and spread his wonderful gift. So let's pause there. You will see that later today, after we do your attunement, we are going to. Sorry, I just saw your question. What about the energetic body? That would be the level 3. That's level 3. Energetic and spiritual, level 3. All the jazz. Hold on. The only reason I can't find my chat now. There it is. Okay. So when we go through the attunement, you will notice that your workbook has 21 pages. The purpose of your workbook having 21 pages is you have 1 page a day for you to reflect on your attunement journey. Your pages are your stones, right? Each day you go through the attunement, you get to take note of your experiences. You get to discuss, just so you guys know, feel free to unmute yourself to ask questions because I might not see your chats and I want to be able to answer things as we go. Okay. That would make it a lot easier for me because the chat doesn't always stay up and I also don't want it blocking things on the recording. Cool. That'd be a big help. So with your attunement, you're going to have the 21 days to reflect on the attunement process, but also it's going to be a self-treatment every day. And each week, because 21 days is 3 weeks, right? Week 1, you follow a certain outline of the treatment. Week 2, another kind of treatment. And week 3, another kind of treatment. And it's outlined for you in the workbook. I've typed it all up, all your instructions. So no need to worry. And I'm going to dive into it more at the end. But that's why the attunement is a 21-day cleanse. Doesn't mean you got to fast or meditate on a mountain somewhere for 21 days. It's just about you eating cleaner, exercising maybe a bit more, even walking 20 minutes a day, taking some time to meditate and putting aside time to do the attunement on yourself, right? Not the attunement, to do the healing on yourself. Things of that nature. And it's going to help you basically build your relationship with the Reiki level 1 energy. So Dr. Yusui goes ahead, climbs down the mountain, ends up doing 4 healings on his way down, right? So the first he stumbled, injured his foot, does Reiki on it, it's healed. Then he goes to a farmstead, he's invited to eat, and he eats after 21 days of fasting and doesn't get sick, right? So his body's just like filled with this healing energy, doesn't get sick, doesn't get depleted in any way. And then the third, he goes and he heals the farmer's wife of a toothache. On his return to the monastery, he performed a fourth and final miracle by healing an elderly monk who had been recently bedridden with arthritis. The story goes on to tell how he became a missionary and set out to heal the world. So it goes on, and basically, he then ends up going through the streets and he sees all these beggars and he sees people who are injured. They have all these things that need to be addressed, and he starts healing and doing these healings throughout the village, throughout the area that he's traveling through. And he realizes after some amount of time, the people always come back. And so that's where he realized, wow, this, I cannot be the one to heal them. I need to teach them to heal themselves, which is personally why I love so much the Reiki master level. Becoming a Reiki master, you get to pass attunements. And so he then goes on, and as he has these people come back to him, he says, I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to teach you how to receive this energy, how to channel it, so you can now work on yourself, right? So you can practice this healing on yourself. Now, modern day and age, like, do I like to practice on myself, if I'm being honest with you? No, I don't. I like it, but it's a short thing. But if I really want to enjoy a session, even I have a practitioner that I go to, and you'll notice that most Reiki masters do. Although they can do it on themselves, they typically have a friend or a previous student that they swap with. And that's just because that way you can fully relax and you're not sitting there like, okay, I'm going to have my hands up here. I'm working on my head and working on this and that. Because then your arms are kind of just like chilling there. It's not comfortable as much, it's not as comfortable as laying down and receiving it. You get what I mean? So yes, it's amazing to pass it and watch other people heal and learn to heal themselves. And like, let's say you have horrible cramps or something, or you have nerve pain in your leg, or you have some sciatica going on at work, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just need this to go away. You just send some healing energy, you'll watch it diminish. It's a beautiful tool. It really is. So he goes and he passes on these attunements, and now all these people create the domino effect of more and more Reiki students. And he has all these people starting to explore their Reiki healing journey. So, any questions so far? Nope. Cool. The remainder of Dr. Usui's life was dedicated to healing and teaching the Usui Reiki method of healing. He had 19 students who were Western allopathic or traditional Japanese in their practice, and he wanted to develop a method that could be used by any religion or culture. So the Emperor of Japan honored Usui's work by awarding him a doctorate. By the time of his death, Dr. Usui had initiated 19 students, and he left behind the 5 Reiki principles. So the 5 Reiki principles are just for today. Do not be angry. Do not worry. Be thankful. Do what you're meant to do, and be kind to others. For this, we are going to jump back to the other page because I have updated them greatly. And we're gonna get into it. Let's see, bear with me. Can you see this? I really hope so. Cool. Okay. I've never used this kind of setting, but I guess this is how I can present it to you guys. Cool. That works because now we can stay on this workbook. Beautiful. That was weird. I don't know why. It's like you have to go into um like a live, I don't know. It was weird. It's a presenter mode, but it was a different one that I haven't used. So we have the Reiki principles, and they go, this is kind of like your prayer. This is the morals, the guidelines, the sacred tablets of Reiki, basically, right? So you have just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not anger. Just for today, I will be grateful. Just for today, I will do my work with honesty and integrity. Just for today, I will be kind to all living things. If you repeat these on a daily basis, you will see how drastically your life changes and how calm you become just by reading them. So let's dive into what they even mean, right? So why do they all start with this phrase, just for today, right? Each principle starts with this phrase, and it basically implies that not only are we staying here in the present, but we're focusing on today. We're not focused on tomorrow. We're not focused on yesterday. We're here living in this beautiful, abundant, and glorious present moment. And by doing so, it allows your energy to communicate with spirit, universe, source, whatever label you want to give your higher power in a very clear way because you're in the now. You're not forward, you're not backward, you're not parallel, you're here. And you're telling spirit very clearly that just for today, I will, dot, 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 all these principles, right? And so it also translates to even though we might have tried yesterday or yesterday was a not so fun day, today is going to be a great day. Today I choose to be happy. Just for today, I choose to create my reality with more peace and more love, right? When we are very mindful of just for today, it helps take off that pressure of, oh, I need to do this every day, right? Just for today, I'm going to go run those 3 miles I promised myself I'd run, right? Just for today, I'm going to keep that promise. And then tomorrow, you know what? Just for today, I'm going to keep that promise. And it's just going to keep going. It's a great way to also support any new habits you want to create because it allows you to be present. It doesn't put this pressure of thinking 10 weeks or 10 days ahead of, for the next 7 days, I'm going to do 1 day down, 6 more to go. It really helps you to give yourself more grace because it's keeping you in this moment. And in this moment is where you're starting to progress towards your goals. It's not, I'm doing this in order to check off a box that gets me closer. Just by doing it today, you're already closer. So it's a great way to reframe your mindset and your lens. I will not worry. I love this one. I love all of them, really. Worries are nothing but a lack of trust in self and in the universe around us. Worry often has to do with the what ifs we may experience in our day-to-day life, the unknown in the future. When we give our precious life force energy, time, and attention to things here in the present, and we begin to worry about these things, we disconnect from the divine and loving universal energy, and we are so naturally connected to. It is at this point we start to lean into fear and slowly fall out of alignment with our inner guidance and universal life force. Worry only serves a purpose when it leads us to take action and create change, propelling us to move out of worry and into conscious collaboration with the universe and our higher selves. It is in this place, the conscious choice for action, we lean back into faith that we can, and the worry subsides. So just for today, choose not to worry. So as you can always create change and positivity. Today's going to be a long day, guys. Okay. I will not be angry. I find this is the one that most people struggle with. The whole purpose of this is to make you angry. I'm just going to shoot you straight. The purpose of this affirmation is to be like, I will not anger today. And everything that pisses you off is going to come to the forefront of your mind. That's the purpose of it. But anger is one of the most powerful emotions because anger is typically always a mask. It's known in therapy as a secondary emotion. It's kind of like if someone speaks to you in a way that's really disrespectful, you might present as angry, but really what you're feeling is disrespected. And the anger is protecting you because you don't want to be disrespected again. And so anger is always the mask or it's the guard that is in front of the primary emotion. It's a secondary. It's the why, right? It's I am angry, typically to protect myself. I'm presenting as anger, right? And that's our primal response. And so with the anger, it's a great teacher. And the negative phrasing of this principle, I will not be angry, right? That is what helps us to connect with the lingering energies of anger, helping them to surface so we can address them and free ourselves from any ill effects that they may be having on our mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual well-being. There are many healthy ways to address our anger, as usually anger is the mask on our heart that our heart wears when it's too scared or worried to feel the true emotions that lie beneath, such as betrayal, rejection, disrespect, etc. When we face the mask of anger, remind ourselves it's safe to feel our emotions. We begin to feel them with more awareness, compassion, and reverence, realizing that all emotions are our teachers, and anger is one of the greatest teachers of all. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Any questions on that? Comments? Anything? Nope. Okay, let's keep it moving. I will be grateful. I'm gonna tell you right now, gratitude is probably one of the most powerful freaking things you can do in your daily practice. It is. You'll see your life change. I know when I go through spells of like not being tapped in with my gratitude, my life is like it's all over the place. And just a few days ago, I just had like this immense gratitude like surging through me. And I had an incredible week, just an incredible week. Because what gratitude does, when you say just for today, I will be grateful, you're tapping into that right now in this present moment. I have everything I need. I have a healthy body. I have mind. I have breath. I have food in my fridge or money in my wallet. Or maybe you don't have any of those things, but you have today, right? You have today. And whatever it is you do or don't have is kind of irrelevant because in this moment, you get to be grateful for the things that are in front of you and the things you do get to explore, the things that you do get to learn from and progress with. And so I really love this principle because it's a beautiful, gentle reminder to express gratitude for the things that at times we may overlook. I know it's going to sound pretty morbid, but I remember when I was paralyzed, I was very angry with my body. And my paralysis began to diminish when I got to a place of starting to say, you know what, body, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're so strong to still be hanging on. When I shifted my lens into gratitude with where my body was, that's when my paralysis started to diminish. And I continued to have Reiki sessions, and I had that as one of the focuses, and my paralysis started to go away. And I was paralyzed for a year, and within 2 months, I was walking again. As soon as I started that practice, and gratitude's incredibly powerful. And I think a big thing with gratitude is a lot of times people, like especially when I see this a lot with students when students I mentor for spiritual mentoring, not with energy healing, especially when they're doing manifesting and they want to call in abundance or they want to call in wealth. And typically when we call it in, we act like it's already here. Like I make $15,000 a day, right? I make $15,000 a day. Thank you so much, Spirit. Some students are like, I can't do that. Like my heart hurts saying that. And that's the fear, right? That's a sense of unworthiness, or it's almost like a sense of like, oh, that's selfish to ask for that. No, you're limitless. Everybody's limitless. I make $15,000 a day. So do you. So do you. So do you. We all do because it's an energy. Everything's energy. The label money, the label abundance, the label this, healthy, wealthy, successful, financially free. They're labels. Remember that everything is energy. You're just speaking to an energy. You're tuning into something. So anytime you tune in, visualize yourself as a new wavelength. Visualize that energy, that wavelength tuning into abundance, good health, gratitude, joy, success, and happiness. You will find that your life changes drastically because then you have this immense gratitude at a higher frequency. Does that make sense? Cool. Thank you. I will do my work honestly. This is where I get kind of mama bear. This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves with spiritual work, especially people who do Reiki. This is such an important principle. To do your work honestly means to practice our work with integrity. Like just reading this makes me want to bawl my eyes out right away. Integrity, diligence, and determination. Our work is not solely the practice of Reiki for others or even self. Our work is the conscious choice to live our life with integrity, to care for ourselves with honesty and compassion. To do our work with integrity means to wake up each morning and constantly choose to care for oneself, to be grateful, to not worry, to not anger. And if any of these principles challenge you in that moment, to look at them honestly and address what is coming up for you. So, this principle basically speaks to that Reiki, similar to yoga, right? It's a lifestyle. And you might be a yoga teacher, but because you're a yoga teacher at home, you also practice breath work where you be mindful of what you eat and drink. Do you know every time I have a coffee, there's a little part of me that's like guilty. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be drinking this shit. I'm just gonna be honest with you, it is. And so it sits there all day and I get this huge coffee and I probably only drink this much. And I'm like, why don't you just get a smaller one? I don't know. And but it's things like that. Like it will be so ingrained in you, like little things like it's It's the funniest thing. Like if I like grocery shopping, I'll go and I'll get food sometimes. Is it processed? Because then you start thinking about everything energetically. How's it sitting in your body, right? Like I look at this and I'm like, okay, how many artificial things am I putting into my body? But if I do Reiki on it, I can kind of diminish it a little, which is usually what I do, but it still doesn't mean it's great for me, right? And so when you start to explore doing your work, honestly, your work is not the practice of Reiki. You are your work. Like that is what makes me emotional. Like you're your work. It's not working and healing other people. You are your work. Because the reality is when you're at your best, right? When you're healthy, when you're happy, when you're in alignment with yourself, your healings will be profound because you're in love with your life. And everything is so good, even if shit's hitting the fan, that you're in that space of, I really just look forward to doing this. Like this person's trusting me to do this healing. This person's trusting me with a very vulnerable space, right? And I feel grateful for that. Never would I have thought that endless strangers would come to me and lay down with their eyes closed and let me help them with their wounds without saying a word. It's a very vulnerable thing. That's very, very intimate. And so the work means, are you comfortable creating that intimate, vulnerable, safe space for yourself, let alone other people? And that means doing your work with integrity, which means constantly learning to progress and heal and work on self. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It doesn't mean something's damaged. It means that I love myself enough to continue to question every part of me with an unbiased or a non-judgmental lens and continue to choose to alter myself until I want to change again, because you're going to endlessly want to change. Endlessly. I know you get, if you, both of you actually have been with me quite a while. You've probably seen my website change 100 times, my business logo change 100 times. You've probably seen my color scheme change 100 times. But every time it changes, it's because I'm changing. And my work's a reflection of me, right? And so I want the integrity of that to be in alignment with the integrity that I feel in myself. And I know if when I look at my business, it started with a very childish logo and it got a little bit more mature. And then when I really felt like in my power, it felt more, I wouldn't say mature, professional. Finally, I got to this place where I was like, and that's partially why I'm remaking the workbook too. Like this to me looks cleaner and crisper. And so your work, whether it be your actual job or your self-care or your relationships and how you participate in them, your work is where Reiki can be applied, right? And it's where you move with integrity. The more you move with integrity, the more light your life will feel. So this also refers to how we show up for ourselves and others, to always be honest in our communications and to do so consistently. I think this is where not people struggle with this and be mindful. My explanation is just for me. You will build your own relationship with every single one of these principles. But I know for me to do my work honestly means not just how I work with other people, but how I work on myself. Like, am I practicing what I preach, basically? And another thing, like, are you being honest? Like, I just basically threw myself under the bus about my coffee, right? But I don't have shame in it because I know it's something that, okay, in the next 3 months, I'll get off my coffee and be back on green tea again, right? And it's just kind of accepting yourself as you flow. And so all I ask is that as you explore Reiki, your spiritual journey, don't think that you have to fit a stereotype. Just be yourself, even if you don't know what that is. The more you explore it, the more you will be in alignment with your integrity. Okay? Don't let other people be like, oh, that's a stereotype, or that's this, that's it. Well, you know what? I want to try my stereotype out. I want to see if part of the stereotype fits me, and that's okay. That's okay. Okay? Cool. Soapbox off. Next. I'll be kind to every living thing. This is a fun one. When you're driving or you're in a very busy place and people are walking too slow or driving too slow, or people cut you off or shove in front of you or cut the line, and you want to be a female praying mantis on them, right? If you don't know what that means, it just means to bite their head off. Okay. Um, this is a great way to practice being kind, right? And I usually tell my students, like, when we're implementing this principle, if someone cuts you off on the highway, instead of getting mad, say, you know what? You must be in a rush. I hope you get to wherever you're going safely. I hope you get there safely, and I hope that everybody around you is safe, and I hope nothing bad happens on your journey, right? And it's that intention of it, you know what? Your action had nothing to do with me, but I hope that you're safe and everybody you come in contact with is safe. To be kind to every living thing is to know that every living thing, human, animal, plant, or other, is a teacher in some way. Whether we love or loathe the person or thing, this principle brings awareness to the fact that all living things are deserving of love, kindness, compassion, and respect. As you begin to explore Reiki as a practice of life, you will come to realize that all experiences truly are teachers. Especially if you do this for work, I'm going to tell you right now, you will have clients come that you know you're like, I don't want to work with them, but intuitively know I have to. Why? Because they're going to poke at any remaining wounds or triggers that have to do with an area of your life you're closing out or still struggling in. I promise, I promise, I promise. And we'll talk about that more in shamanism. It has to do with states of consciousness. But being kind to that person instead of being like, oh, I dread when this client comes, but being more like, you know what, I'm grateful for today, for the experience I'm about to have with them, because they're going to teach me something that I know I need to learn. And that's a beautiful lens to have, because you will have more compassion for that person and yourself, because you'll also be showing that even though this person might remind me of somebody who really hurt me, I'm not going to project that hurt onto them, because I know that the person who hurt me was going through something, so they must be too. And I'm going to give them empathy, and I'm going to rewrite that story, right? So they get a very compassionate response, as do you, because you're embodying the kindness that every living person, thing, animal, plant deserves. This also means, like, and you don't have to do this. I'm that weird hippie chick that does this. If I see plastic outside, I'm picking it up. Why? Because the earth is a living thing, and I'm throwing it away, right? If I see, like, people think my house is Dr. Doolittle. Like, I have all these animals perched on my porch every morning, and none of my neighbors do, and we're all houses side by side. And it's because of a frequency. That's it. It's just a frequency. Granted, you probably don't want lizards getting into your house like they get into mine, but as the more kind you are to living things, they're all going to be a magnet to you. So this is also a beautiful practice that brings you really close to oneness. The more close we are, the more kind we are to everything around us, the more connected you are to all things, because you're choosing to be kind to all things, because you're treating all things the way you want to be treated, right? That golden rule. You'll see it in everywhere in many shapes and forms, and that is it in Reiki. Okay. Questions? Nope. Cool. Okay. So we have the 5 Reiki principles, the Gokai, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce them in Japanese, but you will have a pretty little link right here that you'll be able to click in this PDF. I will post it later to the site as well if you want to hear them. It's the Japanese translation and how to pronounce it. She does it beautifully. I've been using this video for years, and it's just a great practice. Okay. So basically, the paragraph below just speaks to the power that our words have. I think we might have touched on this a little bit when we were talking about Egyptian hieroglyphics. If that wasn't you guys, just roll with me here. But words are so powerful that when Egyptians would write hieroglyphics, they would smudge out certain letters because they had a lower vibration than others. And so as we repeat these mantras, these principles, we're basically shifting our soul, our spirit into this higher state, into this higher frequency, into this beautiful energy that is very loving, that is very healing. And so repeating these at the beginning of your day, hell, I wrote them on my mirror when I started my Reiki journey. I would have them on my mirror in a whiteout, not a whiteout, like a dry erase, a whiteboard marker. And I would repeat them as I was getting ready in the morning, looking at myself in the morning, putting on my makeup, repeating them over and over. That's a great way to shift your frequency, mirror work, and you can do it as you get dressed. That's how I do it. Even to this day, I'll listen to affirmations and look in the mirror as I get ready and do my makeup and my hair and all of it. So just food for thought. Okay. So Dr. Haishi. Okay, so let's go through this tree really quick. So we have Dr. Yusui founded Reiki, and then we go to Dr. Haishi. Okay, I know we touched on Takata, but we're gonna go into Haishi first because Takata actually comes after him. So Haishi's in between the two. Okay. So upon Dr. Yusui's death, Dr. Haishi, who's a physician and he's a retired Marine commander. This is a really like sad but like beautiful story all at the same time. Took over the role of Grand Master. So I'm a Reiki Grand Master, and I know I get this question a lot now. What's that mean? It means you practice Reiki for a long freaking time. Um, and it means that you're a master teacher, basically, that it's not just that you've practiced Reiki, it's that you've practiced as a Reiki master. So, for instance, I've been attuning people, I think, for 5 years now. Yeah. So, Reiki master for 5 years and a practicing practitioner for 7. I got all of my attunements in the same year. I don't recommend. I don't know if I told you guys, I did a 3-day crash course and it was day 1, level 1, day 2, level 2, day 3, level 3. I was sick for months because the attunements. And that's why I don't do single day attunements. I was horribly sick, horribly, horribly sick, like not good. And it's very common after your master attunement to have like, usually just a single day stomach bug or something because your energy shifts so much that you start to like purge. It's not like you're throwing up. Most people just have a stomach ache or they feel really tired, and it's just because they're integrating a high frequency. I recently just attuned one of my masters in Canada, and she messaged me that night. She was like, "I'm so sick right now," and I was like, congratulations, you are now Reiki master. Like it's kind of like a rite of passage. It's very normal. Not everybody it happens to. It really depends on like where you are in your life and how much work you've done. It's not a reflection that you didn't do enough either. It's just that we all purge and process differently, and some might be more sensitive or have more to work through than others. And it's not good, bad, worse, or better. It's just what it is, right? So please, if you do decide to do master level when I bring it back to my site, if that day comes, don't think of it in a comparison. You're going to have the experience that you need to have. And yours won't be months long like mine was. Mine was like a 3 month, like I was fighting something. It was just horrible. I don't know. It was like COVID on steroids, but it wasn't even COVID yet. It was like 2, 3 years prior or something. Anywho, so Dr. Haishi set up a clinic near the Emperor's Palace in Tokyo. The clinic provided healing sessions and kept careful records of all illness and conditions that patients came in with, right? So remember that. It kept records of illness and conditions. It's basically what Takata based a lot of her findings off of, were these records. Okay, that's why she comes after him. He also kept records of which Reiki hand positions work to treat each patient, which also leads us more into Takata, right? So this is where people basically start to study the practice of Reiki and get away from that traditional, like, let's just put our hands in the areas and just sense. I much more prefer traditional Usui Reiki. That's why I teach it that way. This is the way it's taught. That's why we cover all these other methods. They're all based off of Dr. Usui. But at least this way, you have all the tools you need to explore healing the way that works for you. My job is just to simply open you up to the possibilities and allow you to find what works for you as a practitioner. So based on these records, Haishi created the Reiki Ryoho Shinshin. It's the guidelines for Reiki healing method. The guide was provided to his students as a manual for Reiki training, and one of Haishi's greatest contributions for Reiki was to discover the importance of the whole body treatment, how the universal life force goes wherever it needed to heal. That's one of the very, very, very important topics of Reiki I find this a lot when students start to practice in level 2. If I tell them I kind of feel you here and they're like, well, I'm not there. I'm like, that's okay. It's not a reflection of you. The energy needed to go there. It's kind of like if you were to dig in the sand at the beach and you wanted the water to stay in this little puddle, but that puddle also had a line to the ocean, right? The water's still going to flow to the ocean, right? It's going to flow to the bigger body. It naturally wants to. Even if you wanted it to stay here, it's going to flow there. Even if you don't have a little stream, it's probably going to make one if it really is pulled in that direction. Reiki works the same way. It's going to flow where it needs to flow, regardless of you trying to keep it in one direction. That's why we say ego versus intuition. Your ego is attached to having it there. We don't want that. Intuition is, I'm going to put it here, but wherever it goes is where it's most needed. And I trust it to flow that way. So that's basically what his purpose was to get people out of that attachment to, oh, if my hands are here, it has to go here. Well, you might feel it in different places, and that's okay. So, because of a trip to Hawaii in 1937-38, prior to the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, he was asked by the Japanese military to provide information on location of warehouses and other military targets in Honolulu. Mind you, he used to be a Marine commander, so that's why they're asking him this information. He refused and was declared a traitor. And so, in their traditions, family legacy is very, very important. And so he basically lost face, and his family would be disgraced and ostracized from the Japanese society. So he carried out what is called a seppuku, which is a ritual suicide. And he died honorably on May 11th, 1940. That one always hurts my heart. Ugh. Like, beautiful and sad at the same time. I like the ritual aspect of the Eastern world, but it's just sad. Sad. So that's where Takata comes in. So if you notice over here, he took a trip to Hawaii in 1937-38. Takata returned to Hawaii in 1937-1938. So that's where they crossed paths. Prior to Takata going to Hawaii, though, she basically, from the age of 17, she got married, and 32 she ends up with all these diseases, right? So she has autoimmune, she has issues throughout her body, she goes to all these doctors, they want to do surgery, and she says no, it's not necessary. She listens to this intuitive voice that tells her to explore something else. So she goes and she does Reiki, I think, for about 4 months, and was completely healed, right? Another magical healing. Beautiful, right? It's so true though. Like myself, right? Paralyzed, had some Reiki sessions, no more. Woohoo. So that's where she decided to learn Reiki, right? I think this is very common. I know that's exactly the journey that I had. Is I had a disease. They told me I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 30, which I'm 31 in 2 weeks. And they said I would probably be a vegetable by 40 and all this stuff. And after having that experience and exploring Reiki, I decided to get certified in it. And I'm not on a single pill, medicine, multivitamin, nothing. Perfect health, all the things. It's very, very normal. I have a lot of people that I have. Many of my students were people with unexplained diseases or ailments that are now healed or in remission, whatever label you want to give to it. And they wanted to get certified because of how much it helped them, right? And that's a really, really beautiful thing. So Takata returns to Hawaii 37-38 to learn from Dr. Haishi. So he initiates her as a Reiki master at this time, and she's the successor now. So he goes through his honorable death, and after he passes, Takata is now the only Reiki master in Japan. And so she charges $10,000 to learn Reiki in one weekend, right? So this is their form of being a doctor, right? It's a $10,000 degree. This is how they heal. This is how they work. And so from this program, she initiated 22 Reiki masters before she passed on December 11th, 1980. There were 2 grandmasters to continue her work after her death. So these are kind of like your principals, right? Like not your Reiki principals, but I mean like your school principals. You have your Reiki masters who are your teachers. Then you have your principals of the school, right? You have your people who look over, create the curriculum, create the guidelines, tell you how to continue it, who've really been doing it for so long that they're like the head honchos in charge. Okay. So on and so forth. And as you see down here, I say, please reference Takata's handout, PDF for more in-depth look at Takata and her practice. And I will post that. Any questions on this so far? No? Okay. Okay. We're going to dive into it even more now. This is like where we really get started. You might be like, Jordan, I thought we were already started. That was just the history. That was just the history. And we're really going to get into a lot of like the science and stuff of it now. That's where it gets a little wonky. So many people mistake Reiki to be a religion. It's a science. It's non-secular. It is not part of any religion, and it can be used by people of any belief. Healing through touch has been the founding mystery of many religious paths, as well as the origins of modern medicine. And that's why there's a lot of question about if it's a religion or not, right? So when we have people, anthropologists, they go and they do the research, they find fossil evidence, and this is where shamanism starts to come in, right? So they have humans that performed healings on themselves and others since the beginning of time. We have bones that give testimony to fatal wounds that were packed with herbs, fractures that were reset. and healed in diseases that were cured long before any formal concept of medicine. So cultural studies indicate that the village healer has always held an exalted status and was taken care of by the village people in return for his or her ministrations. In many cases, the mystery of healing was wrapped up inseparably in the mystique and superstitions of the spiritual world and held by that culture. Shamanic healers and medicine men and women have used healing touch and the power of psyche to heal ailments of all sorts. So this is kind of interesting because this is actually from my certification in Reiki, not even shamanism. And even when you learn Reiki, they reference shamanism so much, so much. There's a drastic parallel between the two, and there's almost like this unspoken recognition that they're the same thing executed in different states of consciousness. Because when they mention shamanism and the power of the psyche. Whereas with Reiki, we're simply a conduit with the power of the universal life force. Shamanism works with consciousness, which is why it works with soul. Your consciousness doesn't know time or space, and that is your soul. It moves through all time or space, cannot be destroyed. And so that's why there's soul retrieval in shamanism. There's going to your depths, right? Your darkness and all this stuff. Whereas in Reiki, you're focused more on their chakras, their physical body, these ailments, right? What they've experienced in the here and now, right? Just for today. Whereas in shamanism, it's not just for today, it's just for your soul. Anywhere, all time, all space. And I really, really think that many people start to explore shamanism or any pagan earth, right? Pagan just means earth. It doesn't mean you're a witch or a warlock or stirring a freaking pot on the stove, right? It means earth. It means these earthly elements. So just be mindful of maybe some connotations with certain labels that might come up throughout this program. But I find a lot of people that explore Reiki tend to start to explore something of the pagan nature, whether it be Druidry, Wicca, shamanism, or other. I have all of them. I have Wicca over there, Druidry, shamanism. Over there is my bookcase of endless books that I've read and have endless sticky notes sticking out of them. But yeah, I think Reiki is a beautiful doorway to really starting to explore higher states of consciousness. So that's why I like to bridge them with shamanic healing so much. So let's go into modern religions. There are many scholarly texts that outline in detail the history of the Judeo-Christian religions. One thing they all share is the stories of healing and miracles performed by the central character and the emphasis placed on that power, right? So this basically goes to the Testament of parables of Jesus are all about his miraculous feats of healing, and he told his disciples to go forth and heal. This parallels the story of Dr. Yusui, right? He's working with these beggars. They're coming back to him after he's already worked on them. And he's like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Let me attune you, right? Place my hands on you and say, go forth and heal yourself. Heal thyself, right? Go forth and practice on yourself. And I think because there's parallel to religion, that's why people think that Reiki's religious, but it just parallels to these two men in these two stories that have two similar stories, right? Like there's a parallel between my history and Takata's history, but it doesn't mean I'm a scholarly doctor that's going to remake hand positions. But there's a parallel between someone just having a human experience and somebody else who's very pronounced and known. So just be mindful of that. Questions? Nope. Cool. Scientific evidence. Let's see, which one is this? Reiki is a remarkable method of natural healing that uses energy channeled through a practitioner's hands. So the channel that comes down through your hands actually initiates as a white pillar of light, comes down through your crown, down through your head, through your throat, through your shoulders, down your arms, out through the palms of your hands. Here at the center of your hands, you have palm chakras. We'll get into this later. If not later, the next time I see you guys. You don't need to have faith in the effectiveness of Reiki. I should say that the client doesn't need to have faith that the effectiveness of Reiki is required. I know the original book was like, no faith is needed on either side. I didn't agree with that, and I'll tell you why. So just take what you like from this. The reason I think that you have to have faith in yourself is because a lot of energy healing is intention based. So if you don't have faith that it's working, Yeah, it might be working and it's going to send regardless, but having faith makes your intention stronger, which makes the experience more potent. Doesn't mean it makes better, but it means that you have this undying faith, right? This belief that it's flowing, right? I don't even know what I'm doing, but my intention is to send some Reiki and I'm attuned to it. I'm practicing and I'm trying to get better at it. And that's all you need to have. You don't need it. Well, I don't feel much. I don't feel this. I don't feel that. Those muscles will strengthen. So that fear of I'm not doing it right or I don't feel anything, forget that. You will feel more and more the more and more you practice. I promise, I promise, I promise. Okay. And that's why we have the practice sessions on yourself as well as your 21-day cleanse daily practice, right? Cool. It's all to help those things build. It's not to challenge, well, yeah, it is to challenge you, but in a good way, not in a bad way. So the Reiki is going to flow regardless. From the practitioner's standpoint, though, it's very beneficial to have faith in yourself and the natural healing ability that is within us all. The more we lean into and trust that this healing energy is flowing, the stronger our intention while conducting the session. Wow, there's a lot of typos in this one. Reiki, oof. Reiki is a strong, powerful flow of energy that sustains health and vitality. The energy relaxes muscles, speeds digestion, stabilizes blood pressure and blood sugar, calms a racing pulse, stimulates the immune system, and relieves pain. Racing pulse is probably one of the most commonly seen things in sessions for me as a practitioner. I find a lot of people are very nervous. So the first thing I do, even at yourself, even if you're having nerves or anxiety, visualizing this beautiful, healing and gentle, loving white light, and even like talking to yourself like, hey, we're putting Reiki here. That's going to start to relax you because it's basically you're mildly reparenting yourself. You're getting to this place of, okay, I can control this. I'm safe. Like I have control over my body and my energy and how it is and how it's flowing. So right now my energy is saying to the universe, it's anxious. I don't want to send that message. What message do I want to send? Oh, that I'm strong and confident, that I'm safe, that I'm in control of my day-to-day life, right? And so you get to shift your energy with the practice of Reiki, and that's very beautiful in and of itself. So this is a really great form of preventative medicine, and I'm all for the preventative care, which is why I recommend. I have a lot of people ask me, like, do I have to do it biweekly? And I will tell you 9 times out of 10. I would love to tell you 10 out of 10. I know that at one point in my life, I'll probably experience that one person that's like, that's not the case for me. I haven't experienced that one person yet, I'll be honest with you. So far it is 10 out of 10, but my people who come biweekly see much more progress in their health. They have more peace of mind on a regular basis. I had a brand new client just yesterday. I had one session and she flat out said to me, because my availability was so booked, she couldn't get in bi-weekly for her second session. It was like right between the 2 and 3 week mark. She goes, I was just getting at the point where I could feel the joy and the happiness, that lightness starting to fade. She goes, I felt it for the full 2 weeks though. And it's because 21 days. 21 days. At 21 days, your energy starts to shift. You have your 21-day cleanse, you have your 21 journey up the mountain with Dr. Yusui, right? You have the 21 days. Typically, around day 17, people's Reiki that they've already had done, if they are not doing it on themselves or they're not practicing in a way to help perpetuate that very balanced energy, they start to feel imbalanced again. And that's why I say 14 days is great. Bi-weekly is great for yourself to get it done, to offer as a practitioner, because typically around the 17-day mark, people are like, I need a session. Every single time. I've never had somebody come to me and say, oh, I love coming once a month. Nope. I have people who nobody wants to come just once a month. And I've even had people try every 3 weeks and they say, I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. And I say, I'm telling you, try bi-weekly. They're like, whoa, way different. Way different. Keep it in mind. It's much, much different. Okay. Mm. So there's some really cool studies that have been done on Reiki. This is one of my favorite ones. But before I read it to you, there's also with pregnancy, it's probably one of the biggest case studies. They do case studies on women who are pregnant all the time, and the ones who have Reiki regularly have pregnancies with no complications. And they typically have much easier births, less traumatic births, and their body responds and heals quicker because they have Reiki on a regular basis. And it's just like a really, really beautiful thing. I think that's just so cool. Anyway, so here's another study. So this doctor, he gets 44 male student volunteers who were told they would be part of an experiment to test a new, highly sensitive camera which could photograph the energy flowing around the human body. Under the tightest of secrecy and controls, half of the group came to a rented house at irregular intervals in the morning, other half came in the afternoon. Everyone was told the same story. Everyone was treated in exactly the same way. Each volunteer had an 8 millimeter wide skin deep wound cut on the forearm. When they went to the house, each volunteer was seated close to the wall of an otherwise empty room and instructed to insert his arm through the small, heavily draped hole. Nothing was visible on the other side. Each volunteer sat there for precisely 5 minutes while the quote unquote camera in the adjoining room was supposedly filming the wound. The purported theory was that there would be extra energy flowing around the wound and the camera would be able to record it. The point, however, was that there was no camera in the next room. The morning group was simply hanging their arm into an empty space. Afternoon, a Reiki practitioner, Lori Eden, was concealed from them, sat in the adjoining room close to the wall, and carried out a healing session. So she only hovered her hands inches above the arm. At the end of the 16 days, medical experts who did not know who had been treated by the healer examined the 44 students. The wounds of 13 of those treated by the healer had healed entirely. Each wound had closed over and had a layer of new tissue sealing it. The rest of the afternoon group was well on the way to total healing, but by contrast, not a single member of the control group had experienced complete closing of wounds or anything close to it. The photos show that differences are striking. Worth's experiments show that the healing was effective and that belief or suggestion played no part in the healing. So that's why it doesn't matter if somebody thinks that they can or can't. I've had husbands, right? Just saying, like wives, I don't know what's up with the wives. Wives will be like, husband, you need this. And like, I've stopped sessions and I'll be like, listen, if you don't want to be here, tell me, because I don't want to invade your space or any of this. And I'm like, okay, well, at least you know I'm not really for it. I'm like, it's cool if you're not for it. But if you want to entertain me for the hour, let's do the dang thing. And at the end of it, typically within the first 3 minutes, men cry. I've noticed that my men cry sooner than my women cry. Women typically cry in the middle. Men usually cry right away, or they snore right away, which is hysterical. It's just cute, like these huge dudes, and they're just like out cold. Um, and it's profound to really see how much more people open up. And I think we're in a day and age where more and more men are seeking this. I know in the last year I've had more and more men come my way, but in the first like 5, 6 years of my practice, it was primarily women. So I'm really happy that men are starting to like jump on this train, not to make it about gender, but I feel in our modern day society, men are not really given a very safe space to express themselves or to really tap into that feminine. And so the fact that more and more of them are kind of indulging in this healing and things of that nature, it's allowing them to open up. Like I have men that want to be students now, which is fabulous. It's just a really great thing. And so just, yeah, think about that. I know I will say, and to each their own, but I work with a lot of my students tell me that they want to work with a certain gender, they want to work with a certain demographic. So just think about that. So you might want to, I have some that just want to do women's groups, like their focus is more on the feminine, divine feminine. Um, I have a different lens of that. I think we all have divine feminine, divine masculine. I don't think it's limited to our biological gender. I think it's just simply an energy within us all. But there's also, so just things to think about. There's a lot to think about when you want to do this as work. Okay. Because I know most of my caseload, regardless of gender, is just freaking trauma based. Just trauma. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. This experiment is actually recorded. It's in a documentary film on the BBC called A Way of Healing. So if you do want to watch it, it is noted in our workbook. If you want to look it up on YouTube, you could probably find it. I've never actually tried to find it. I don't know why. Just I read it and that was enough for me. So let's get into the quantum physics of this. We kind of touched on this in our very first class together when we were talking about atoms and like polarity and how here in the 3D opposites attract and at higher states of consciousness like attracts like, right? When we get to quantum physics, this is where we get into the shamanic kind of lens, and you'll see that even though we're covering Reiki, they reference shamanism. So the scientific term of quantum physics is a fancy term for what shamans and magicians have known since the beginning of civilization. Quantum physics gives scientific theory and terminology to the magic and the conscious manipulation of reality. It recognizes the fact that all quote unquote solid matter is energy. Thought is a focused energy, and that specific patterns of energy can be affected by a single thought. Okay, so they give this example of a laser. So if you shine a flashlight on a piece of metal, the metal's not going to melt. But if you shine another light that's more focused, like a laser, it will go right through the metal because the intention is not expanded. It's not so general. It's a direct thought. It's a direct intention. So it has greater force and greater impact on what's receiving it. Okay? To summarize, touch. There are scores of superstitious taboos and myths associated with the power of touch. There are countless tales and beliefs that involve being cursed, deformed, cured, and are blessed simply with a touch. Yet physical touch is one of the most vital requirements for the body. So if you go devoid of touch, or if an infant does, there's actually scientific evidence that shows that this has a very large impact on the mental health and the standing of a toddler. It creates a lot of emotional problems, and they usually become sociopaths of some sort with an experience of being devoid of touch in childhood. Because it's something that we do to co-regulate, something that we do to build connection. It's very natural for us to want to be touched. And I'll be very honest with you, a lot of times people come to a healing session because they do want to feel connected. They want that touch. So if you come in person with me, you know that I sit in my chair the whole time. I don't walk around. I don't put my hands on you. I will when I know that somebody needs that, because in time you'll intuitively sense it. When I'm doing their intake, I'll cup their hand, like I'll have them place their hand here, and I'll tell them that, like, hey, I just need to sense a few things, right? But really what's happening is that we're co-regulating. I'm holding their hand. I'm cupping them, saying, you're safe. I've got you, right? Today we're going to work on this. We're going to work on that. And I'll just keep holding their hand as I talk to them. And I'll just tell them that I'm sensing them, and I'm sensing them. Yeah, but I can sense them without touching them, really. I can sit in front of them and know all the things. As some of you know, that I've had distance sessions with me, but this brings a lot of comfort to people. So if you're not a big toucher, that's a great option for you. Or, but always ask. Always, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it for the due diligence. Always ask, hey, are you comfortable if I put my hands on your shoulders? Are you comfortable if I hold your hand for a second? Are you comfortable with a hands-on healing today? And what I mean by that is I'll be placing my hands here, here, and here. I don't touch anything on your chest or by your groin. I hover my hands in those areas, but everywhere else I do touch, right? So it would be things of that nature. Just keep it in mind. We'll go over it more in level 2. Okay. So Reiki theory and structure. Where are we at with time? 12:30. Perfect. Hour and a half. Okay. We're doing the dang thing. The practice of healing through touch, laying of hands, is older than mankind. We see this with massage. We see it with acupuncture. We see it with a mother placing their hand on their child's forehead when they're sick, or hugging them and rocking them. Touch is a way that we comfort. It's a way that we heal. It's a way that we share connection, all the things that we just talked about. The industrial society brainwashes us to think that we cannot heal ourselves when the reverse is true, right? So if you clasp your elbow after hitting your funny bone, in time, it starts to diminish. And it's because you have the intention of, oh, pain, go away, go away, go away. Or, oh gosh, that hurt, right? But the squeezing is what's really getting that energy out, right? Because that's really all it is. It's all this focused energy in your elbow, in your funny bone, that is now built up there, that it's overstimulating those nerves or that area of your body. So what you're doing is you're squeezing it. You're basically having the intention, unbeknownst, to pull that energy out, or to squeeze that energy out, or to push it so tight that it starts to expand again. You're shifting the energy with the pressure. That's all you're doing. You're shifting the energy, unbeknownst, but very natural. Channeling. The biggest difference between Reiki versus other types of healing touch is that Reiki attunement allows the healer to focus or channel energy into the person receiving the healing without draining the healer or absorbing their symptoms. Let's repeat that. Without draining the healer or absorbing the client's symptoms. With Reiki, you are a conduit. Let's say this is my body. Spirit's like, I'm going to put white light down your straw, fill up your vessel. Okay. And my little arms come out and my hands are like this. So all this white light is flowing out of my vessel through the palms of my hands. Okay. That white light continues to flow through me though, and then it grounds into the earth. I am not taking on anything. I am just allowing this white light to flow through me and out the palms of my hands. I'm not taking on what's on my client. It's basically like my hands are like a hose. And if I'm doing a healing on myself and I see that there's a blockage in my third eye between my brow, I'm just going to put some white light there and I'm just going to wash it down, wash it away. I'm not going to pull it and hold on to it and then, oh gosh, it's in my body. It doesn't work that way. Don't freak out. Doesn't work that way. You just wash it down. Reiki, you are a conduit. It's white light. It flows through you and just washes. It's kind of like you're a power washer. You're just going to clean all the smudge. Like your hand's a magic eraser. That's really what I tell a lot of my students in person. It's like, picture that you're just like Velcroed to a magic eraser. And anywhere you rub this magic eraser, it's clearing away any yuck and guck and making it the exact color it needs to be, right? That's it. That is how Reiki works. You are a conduit of this healing energy. This healing energy comes through and gives you these magical magic erasers. And you just get to wash away all the yuck and guck. Okay? Traditionally, it is required to have many years of study and practice working with energy and the healing arts on a daily basis to become a Reiki master. It's also required multiple attunements as the healer progressed through each level. In recent times, attunements have been grouped together into 3 levels, and the daily practice is incumbent upon the healer to obtain growth. So you've already talked about these, so it's just reiterated there again. Questions on this? Anything so far? Anybody? Anything? Alternative applications. Reiki is an applied energy that could be used for a variety of applications. So you could use it on animals, you can use it on yourself, you could use it on a space, you could use it on food, you could use it on the future, on the past, on the current situation, on something in childhood, on a traumatic event. You could use it on a test. You could use it on many things because everything is made of energy. And Reiki just speeds up the atoms in this energy and it basically gives them this beautiful Reiki boost. So the basic process of healing itself is very simple. As you evolve into a more experienced healer, you will increase your intuitive ability and learn to rely on that as a guide. So we're about to get into the process of healing. The way that I teach, I'm going to give you a structured outline on how to start your sessions now. You will see as women, your sessions on yourself, just to be very clear. These sessions are only for you. Do not practice on a pet, on another person, on a plant, nothing. Practice only on yourself. Please, thank you. The reason being, Reiki level 1 is for self. I want you to get familiar with how it feels to receive this energy in your own body. If you practice on something else, you're not going to know what it feels like. Okay? I want you to practice what that feels like for you. So only practice on yourself. I give you a structured outline on how to do this. So as you start to explore Reiki as an energy healer for yourself or other, you have an outline that you can base your future process off of, right? This does not mean you have to stick to this outline for the entirety of the rest of your Reiki journey, career, life experience. It is just for you to have a baseline of some structure, right? It's just to give you an outline. Cool. So, I'm going to skip some of this because your homework is to read it and I'm going to go over it in a much shorter way here shortly. Big thing. Don't diagnose. This should go without saying. Do not diagnose anybody. You're not a doctor. You're not a medical doctor. And if you've worked with me, Nell, you know this. Like Nell knows this. We had a crazy experience together. Not mine to share, but like, I will always be blunt about what I see if I'm guided to tell you. I'll never diagnose you with something. I'll flat out tell clients like, hey, I think if you want with your own free will, I'll say it just like that. Like I'll literally be hint, if you want with your own free will to go to a chiropractor and have them look at your spine, I think maybe that would be a really great idea. But if you don't want to, that's totally cool. I'm not a doctor. I cannot tell you what to do. But what you do with what I'm saying right now is your free will choice. Got it? Got it. Picking up what I'm putting down? Yes. And I will say it just like that. I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not making suggestions. I'm simply making a statement, and you can take what you want from it. And let me tell you, it's a very, very great way to save your ass from liability issues, as well as get your message across, but also recognize and being very clear with your client that you're not a doctor. You can't promise anything. You just think it might be a good idea for them to get it checked out. And if they choose to spend the money and get it checked out, that's their free will choice. It's not a you thing. That's up to them. It's up to them. Never had it backfire. It's always been something when they go, but but also I probably wouldn't say things like that so you're really comfortable with your intuition and you really trust it, right? So don't diagnose anybody. And also when we're working energetically with people, you'll realize that there's really nothing to diagnose because everything is just an energy. It's either going to show up as like a black blob or a density, or it's going to have some kind of imagery that just shows you that it's not meant to be there. Spirit's not going to be like, oh, look, here's an autoimmune disorder, here's some cancer, here's some depression, or here's some, you're just going to know that it's a yucky, gross energy. And intuitively, whatever you receive from clearing it, you're going to get that intuitive hit. Oh, it's labeled as this, right? For them, this is what they need to hear to know what that is. Okay. Sorry, even thinking about it, I'm just like, let me clean all my, anyway. So when we're doing healing work, please always be comfortable. Like even right now, like I'm in a long black dress and it goes down to my knees, but it's stretchy enough that I can sit cross-legged in it. I don't like wearing things that confine me. And this, like I always make sure it's pulled up before I sit down so I can raise my arms, so I can work on people, so I can move, and you're going to get hot. You will get hot doing this work. And it is a lot of immense heat and energy when you start to do the healing. So let yourself wear things that breathe. And if you've come in person, you know that I have a blanket that's draped over the back of my chair that I wrap around me and I can just throw off my shoulders when I'm doing a healing session. This way I can be cool, be hot, all the things. Also make sure your clients wear something that is comfortable. We're going over the due diligence, which is why we'll jump from like working on self and clients right now. So if you hear me referencing clients, it's things we'll recap again in level 2, but it's just part of the basic information. You want you to be comfortable. You want them to be comfortable. So I always tell people like I prefer people not wear jeans. Not that I'm going to be touching them or anything, but it's just not comfortable to lay in them for a long time, in my opinion. So I always tell them like wear comfy workout clothes. I have people show up in pajamas. I've had people show up in freaking onesies. I'm like, whatever. If you want to dress like a dinosaur, it's cool with me. Neighbors are going to wonder what I'm doing, but that's fine. So like, just let your people have fun. Let them be comfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I've had usually men ask me if they can wear nothing. No, you need to be fully clothed. I've never had that happen with a woman. I don't know if it's just because I'm a woman or because sometimes people just don't understand what Reiki is and how it's different from a massage. Um, but be very clear that you're not giving a Reiki massage. Be very clear that you must be clothed for the session. And if for some reason I have had male clients that just prefer not to be clothed, and I tell them that the only way that we'll have a session is if we have a session over Zoom, and that the only thing that they show on camera is their face. I have very strict guidelines, never been crossed, never had an issue. And that's pretty much how that's handled. So and some people like that, and it's not for like a sexual thing. It's actually for like this purity, this very clear thing. It's more Kundalini kind of based practice. So people like either to have no clothing or to wear all white. And that's typically your ones that are like diving really deep down a spiritual rabbit hole. And that's totally fine. But it's up for you to, again, work in alignment with your integrity. Like, what are you comfortable with? And don't compromise those morals or boundaries that you have for the sake of keeping a client. Tell them that maybe you might not be a good fit if that's the way that they'd like to pursue their healing sessions, or find a compromise that you're comfortable with, but not a compromise that makes you feel like you're compromising your integrity, your business, or your comfort. Make sense? Thumbs? Anybody? Cool. Okay. We got nothing? That's okay. Um, okay. Chakra correlation. You guys are gonna have to read through that. Intent. I've preached on this quite a bit, but Our intent basically, like if gotten this a lot, I have a lot of women that come to me with infertility or PCOS or ovarian cysts. That's a very common, or just issues like in that region. And they'll tell me all these things. They're like, can we focus on that? And I'll be very honest with them. I don't focus on that. I'll tell them like, yeah, I'll focus on it. But in my mind, it's not like, okay, let's get rid of ovarian cysts. No, it's just sending white light to that area of their body. And whatever I intuitively get from it, like, oh, okay, this feels like some betrayal. This feels like sexual assault. This feels like childhood wounds. This feels like somebody who doesn't feel safe to create or to be themselves or to express themselves, or they have a lot of sexual energy that they feel embarrassed about expressing. It could be all these different imbalances that are manifesting as those physical ailments. Okay. So your intent, I'm sending Reiki, divine white light, and healing whatever imbalances are in this space. I'm sending Reiki healing energy to the highest good in whatever form that they need. That's it. I'm sending healing energy to their highest good in any form and in any space they need. That's your intention. Your intention's not like, I'm going to remove this. That's ego. That's you thinking that you're a healer. You are not the healer. You are a conduit of healing energy. That's it. You're a conduit of white light, and you're just kind of like magic eraser. My intention is to clear any balances, harmful, unwanted, and unneeded energy from this space, and allowing them to return to optimal health and optimal well-being. Just sending healing white light in whatever way you need it. And like, ooh, this feels a little heavy. Okay, so we're going to send a little bit more white light there. It's just your intention. And be very clear on what that white light means to you. Is it love? Is it peace? Is it healing? Is it divine, universal white light healing energy, right? The more clear you are in your intention, the better. And we'll talk about this shortly because we're almost done with this section. But when we're doing healings on ourselves, it would be, I'm sending beautiful Reiki healing energy into my body. I'm sending beautiful Reiki healing energy into my body. And I just want you to experience what that's like. Don't think about what would that feel like? How should this feel? Just have that intention and observe what it feels like. That is when you will understand how your body feels with you passing Reiki healing energy, right? And that'll play a big role when we get to level 2. Okay, good on that? Thank you. Okay. Attunements. The attunement process is part of the traditional Reiki method. Some of you know that I'm attuned to Holy Fire, Karuna Ki, all the more modern forms of Reiki. The reality is I only do Yasui Reiki for my teaching. The main reason, the attunements. Okay. I do not like modern Reiki's take on attunements. It shows them as meditations. That's just me as a Reiki master. I don't want to walk you through a meditation and tell you to visualize white light like your Dr. Yusui at the top of a mountain and receive the symbols. The traditional form of an attunement that Dr. Yusui gave is actually a mini Reiki healing, where we open your crown and we put symbols in with the intention of whatever Reiki level you're being attuned to, and we activate them down certain points in your spine. And you feel this activation, and we clear your energy and purify it. So this new frequency has a clear and cleansed space to then start to radiate and create this upgrade in you. I'd much rather you have that experience than a meditation. And I will tell you about 90% of my students are students who have been certified in other more modern forms of Reiki, and they did not have a good attunement experience. They either experienced a group attunement, a meditation attunement, and they didn't feel much of the energy that they were anticipating, or they didn't feel like much shifted after. I will say your Reiki level 1 is the most subtle of all of your attunements. Subtle in regards to sensation because it's the lowest frequency of Reiki, right? It's still a high frequency, but it's closer to our 3D experience, right? And whereas your level 2 might feel more emotional. It's the one usually students cry a little or they feel this immense gratitude because it's affecting your emotional body. And the spiritual one is where people are like, whoa, my crown feels like it's on fire because it's more of your nervous system, your brain, right? Your energetic body and your spiritual body. Okay. So it's this rewiring of the whole self. And so you feel this awakening, right? This deep healing. All of them have a deep healing, but the frequency is just getting higher and higher each time. Does that make sense? Cool. So, with the 21-day attunement, what will happen is that you're asked to, if you smoke, try your best to stop smoking or to cut your smoking down significantly. The purpose of an attunement is to purify your vessel to align with the new frequency of this Reiki healing energy. The cleaner and pure, like for instance, I'll do it with you guys. After I finish my coffee today, I will attune myself and I will no longer drink my coffee and I'll go through the 21-day attunement with you guys. But it's things like that. You cut out caffeine, you cut out sugars, or you minimize, okay? You cut out your sugars, you cut out your caffeine. If you smoke anything, right? You stop smoking to give your breath, which is your prana, your life force, a clearer lung expansion, capacity, and process, right? So you're basically trying to implement healthier habits. So during this time, it's important to aid this energy as it manifests on the physical plane. It's suggested that you eat good, healthy, and whole foods. So this is like, I like to call it God's candy. So for instance, like I have a horrible sweet tooth. Like I'll freaking eat gummies and chocolate nonstop and I'll crave it. And so I know for me is something that I make at home. That's like a really good alternative. Or even if you just want to have something sweet in the house, fruit would be great for this. Or there's certain things like I roll raspberries in organic Greek yogurt and I melt organic dark cocoa chocolate and I drizzle it over, throw it in the freezer. You have chocolate covered raspberries with some protein yogurt in it. So there's great ways to kind of like start to explore a healthier alternatives for your body. And by the second week, typically you're already craving to continue that process because you're starting a new habit for yourself. Okay. So just because you're craving to continue the process at day 14 doesn't mean you will continue it. Scientifically, I think they say it takes 28 days, so almost 4 whole weeks to really put a new habit in. And it takes 90 days, so 3 months for you to really get to a place of it lasting long term. Okay. All my nerdy little scientific facts for you. So this attunement helps to create a new and much healthier multi-dimensional you, meaning that this detoxification will include breath work, meditation, practicing Reiki on yourself daily, changing your diet, maybe exercising more, and all these things work with the physical, mental, emotional, nervous system, and energetic body, right? Spiritual body. So you're basically realigning your 5 bodies with this frequency by going through this 21-day cleanse. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're receiving this attunement from distance or in person, right? Like energy doesn't know time or space. And all I do in my mind is visualize you here in front of me or me there with you the same way I'd visualize doing an attunement downstairs on my table. It's the same exact thing. You both know, I think, well, I don't think we've ever had a distance session now. I think you've only come in person. But I know I've done distance sessions. That's actually how I started my practice because I started during COVID and like giving healings during COVID, and all of my sessions were distance because obviously we were social distancing and on lockdown. And so for me, having people in person was very foreign. And I really loved starting with distance. I found that it shoved me outside of my comfort zone. Not even tiptoed. It was like, I want to do this. I can't do it in person. Okay, distance session it is. And it was probably the best thing I did. It really increased my confidence in my ability to heal. It helped me visualize much better. It helped me connect with somebody else's energy, regardless of the space between us. And it really helped me with how I work today. Like even today, even if you come in person, I sit in a chair, you're in front of me, the whole healing's a distance session, pretty much. Not pretty much, it is. I do the same thing downstairs that I do if you were here on the computer with me. So this might be abnormal for me to say, but I highly recommend starting with distance healing. I do. I take the jump, just do it. It's really not even a jump at all. It could even be like, hey, sit downstairs, FaceTime me. It could be that distance. It doesn't have to be the other side of the world. But just practicing that will help you build your confidence, your visualization, which helps with your strong intention to be able to visualize, okay? Questions? Nobody? Cool. Boo, 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 boo. Oh my God, there's more plot twist. How much more? Okay, only 2 pages. Whew, God, gave myself a heart attack. Modern science, physical versus energetic, auric fields. We're going to dive all into this much deeper in shamanism. I'm going to skip that page. Focus. This is the intent. I already talked about that. Intervention, evaluation, completion. This is the process of doing the healing. We're going to dive into this now. Okay. These I've already said the many ways that you could use Reiki. So you could use it on people, accidents, medication, animals, birds, fish, reptiles, plants, trees, flowers, food, drink, crystals, future, past, all of that. You can do it on traffic if you're stuck in traffic, all of that. We're going to go over the clairs more in level 2. Chakras. Here's some more ways that you could use Reiki. You already have this chart, and here's the chakras that we've already gone over. I'll talk about the hormonal connection. This is actually really interesting. So you'll see in the charts that they mentioned the connection to the endocrine system. This is an important correlation. The subtle body is sometimes referred to as the emotional body. Our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs originate in our subtle body and are translated by the chakras into chemical language of the physical body via hormones. So for instance, if you're depressed, is what they're saying, right? It changes your hormones release, right? You don't have your feel-good hormones. You have your not so feel good hormones releasing into your body, right? And so that's why we feel emotions with such intensity, and why when our hormones are out of order, we experience emotional turbulence. Okay. Sexual hormones are especially prone to causing emotional outbursts, but even with digestive hormones, insulin, erratic production cases, and moodiness and irritability, keeping your subtle body healthy and balanced has a direct effect on how good we feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. So this basically is just piggybacking off of how important it is to be mindful of how we feel and how we think, because it sends a very large response to your physical body, which then affects your hormones, which then affects your nervous system, which then affects your spiritual energy, which then creates your reality. So the more mindful we are about what we're thinking, what we're consuming, right? Like all these things are there's certain things we consume that are more likely to support certain hormone production than others. There's certain workouts, like if you do a lot of, this is me getting super nerdy on you, but typically why women are more flat chested when they have stronger and larger leg muscles is because your quads are the primary producers of testosterone in your body. So the larger your quads, the flatter your chest, right? Exhibit A. And so this is a perfect example of how certain lifestyles can affect your hormone production as well. Okay, the certain structure of your body can affect it, but also your mood, right? And what you're consuming and how you take care of yourself. And so the purpose of these healing sessions is to bring it all into balance so there's not an overproduction or underproduction. Not even that, like it's just get the emotion in balance, because once the emotion's in balance, the production's going to be balanced as well. Kundalini energy. The sacral chakra is also known as the Kundalini storehouse. Even though Kundalini originates at the base of our spine, it symbolizes a coiled snake at the base of the spine. And the purpose of Kundalini, you'll hear people like, "Ooh, I'm going through a Kundalini awakening." We'll go into this too with shamanism. We talk about this a little bit. If you've known me, you know that I'm not into the whole Kundalini awakening concept. I think that it's just like a normal awakening and it's just part of your energy starting to awaken in phases. I can say that I've had Kundalini awakenings. I've had about 4, and it does feel like a wave of energy going up your spine. You do get really hot. It's very spontaneous. It hits you out of nowhere. It's really cool, but I don't think that you have one. I think that they come in waves as you go through these big shifts. And this wave of energy, I actually just had one 2 weeks ago. It's kind of funny we're talking about this. Anyway, and for instance, like during that, I was doing a sound bowl meditation and I felt this just heavy, not heavy bad, but like a thick, very hot energy going through each chakra. And I had a big emotional release. And then like 2 days later, I was sick. My body was purging, right? I had a stomach bug and I was like, what the hell? And so that's like a Kundalini awakening. And I'm a firm believer they come at multiple times, because think about it. Your awakening in life, right, to enlightenment, which is basically when you die in my lens, like your soul's meant to be enlightened. And once it's enlightened to the point it's meant to in this incarnation, it's going to pass away to come back and become more and more enlightened. So come back and become more and more enlightened, right? So anyway, you go through your awakening, Kundalini, spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it. You go through this awakening, this big shift. I do think they're a little different. I'll touch on that in a second. You go through the shift, you acclimate. You go through another shift, you acclimate. You go through another shift, you acclimate. And that's why they come in phases. So that's why when people say, "Ooh, I'm going through my Kundalini awakening now," I sometimes am like, well, you're going to have another. And a lot of people are under the impression you have it once and all of you is open. No, because if all of you was open, your ego wouldn't exist. It wouldn't. Each time it opens and it purges, though, you integrate more of the ego. You integrate more of this compassionate heart and this kindness. And that's why your chakras go through this big release. They're like, oh, all of our five bodies are aligned. We've integrated a big part of ourselves. We know where we're going. We can release all this old energy that doesn't serve us, right? So I think a spiritual awakening, and you don't have to adopt this lens or believe anything that I'm on a tangent about right now at all. You can believe what you want to believe, but maybe this helps you kind of question where you're currently at or opens your eyes to maybe seeing it differently and helps you decide, yeah, I want to cement myself in what I already believed, or no, I kind of want to explore that thought process too. You don't have to adopt anything I think or believe, okay? I personally think that a spiritual awakening and a Kundalini awakening are two different things. I think a spiritual awakening is an event or a time in our life, like your Saturn return typically, that really challenges you to evolve and dive deeper into getting to know yourself, your spiritual belief systems, and how and who you want to be in this world. Whereas a Kundalini awakening is a physical, energetic process that happens in the body. It's that wave of heat, right? So, like, I had a spiritual awakening with my near death experience, spiritual awakening in a really toxic relationship, spiritual awakening starting the business, spiritual awakening in a traumatic car accident that damaged some other stuff, right? Like, all these things put me deeper and deeper into self care and learning deeper and deeper things to shift my body. But that wave of heat typically happened after I had gotten to a place of peace after those experiences. I had the spiritual awakening that helped me integrate and see all these wounds or all these things I wasn't addressing. And then I had a Kundalini awakening, which is all of your chakras aligning on your spine. That serpent starting to uncoil and rise through the top of your crown and release stuck, stagnant energy. Snakes transform, right? Get it? It's rising, it's uncoiling, it's releasing all the old unneeded energy. I think they work together. I do not think one's better than the other. I don't think that one's a goal over the other. A lot of people are like, well, I want a Kundalini over spiritual. I just want to live my life, right? Like, allow yourself to have the experience you're meant to have, and you'll probably achieve both of them because you won't be attached or in the ego to it. Does that make sense? Okay. Um, you guys are gonna have to read this one. I've already talked about intention. But be cautious with your energy. Only work with people that you want to work with. You're not obligated to give anybody your time and attention. You're not obligated, this is the biggest, you are not obligated to share something that is so sacred and special to you in your spiritual journey just because someone else makes you feel obligated to. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've had people tell me when I first started, I haven't heard it in a few years, but when I first started, well, if you're doing something so spiritual and so loving, shouldn't you do it for free? Well, shouldn't you just make time for me? What do you mean you don't have time? You're supposed to be doing this because you want to. And I did want to, but I also wanted not to deplete myself. I also wanted time to myself. I also wanted time to stay connected to my own spiritual journey. Not my job was not to serve other people. My job was to have a healthy balance between my acts of service and my service to self. So be very mindful of where you share your energy, who you allow to have access to it, and the why behind you doing it. I love my work because I work with people I want to work with. I turn away a lot of people. That's because I work with people that I enjoy and feel guided toward. I do not work with people that do not respect my boundaries. Okay? Be very mindful of where you expend your energy. This also goes even outside of your Reiki practice. If there's certain people in your life that are not supporting the kind of growth or journey you're on, you're going to be challenged to walk away from them. You'll realize how much it affects your work. I know for me, through this process, I went from having a very large circle of friends, like to the point that my circle of friends called me mom, and there were so many of us, and I knew them all since high school. I'm not friends with any of them. I don't talk to any of them. They reach out from time to time. We're friendly. Um, but I just kind of went off on my own thing and I needed to. It was keeping me tied to a version of myself I no longer was, and it was keeping me connected to energies that didn't support the journey that I needed to step into to really fulfill my own potential. So be mindful that's what these attunements will do. They will challenge you to evolve and to walk away from certain things that are simply familiar, maybe not necessarily in alignment. Hopefully that makes sense because they're two very different things. Being familiar and being in alignment with who you are today are two very different things. Um, it's very normal to get tired when you're doing healing sessions. What we hope you're getting tired from is standing and doing your work. I know sometimes I get mentally tired. When I do sessions, not so much anymore. Usually it's not really tired. Usually I'm just so relaxed from the session. I'm like, oh, I could even take a nap after today's session. Like you should feel good. You shouldn't feel depleted. If you feel depleted, it's a telltale sign you're not channeling divine healing energy. You're probably sharing your own. Even if your intention is good, we don't want to be freaking sharing our yuck and guck with the people around us. Don't do that. Um, as Reiki does not involve mental strain or intense will, just a very subtle intention and willingness. And so the more focused you are on the session, right? I find it's very easy to want to be sending healing and you're like, sending healing. Oh, I have to go grocery shopping later. No, I got to send some healing. Oh, but I also have to switch my laundry over. Like things like that might pop in. The more you visualize, the less likely that is to happen. If you're just sitting there sending white light, you're probably going to disassociate and zone out. Visualize them. Stay connected to their face, to their body, to the connection you have with them, and you will not get tired. You will not get bored. You will not get distracted. You will stay very connected, even with yourself, right? If you're doing healing on yourself, even staying connected to the feeling or the heat between your hands and your head and watching the white light going into your head. Like visualize what it would look like to go around your brain or move through your jaw or move down the back of the spine and the neck. Visualize. It will keep your conscious mind occupied so it becomes more comfortable sitting in stillness because that's usually why it brings up the other things. It's not because you actually have to go grocery shopping or switch the laundry over right now. It's because you have monkey mind. Okay. Okay. So another thing we're going to go into is we're going to mention calling in your sacred space, your angels, your guides, and all of this. You are not required to call in angels, guides, ancestors, spirit animals, totems, any of that if you do not want to. The practice of Reiki is simply having the intention, I now am sending Reiki healing energy. That's it. That intention alone turns it on. If you want to call in angels, ancestors, and guides for protection, for healing, for assistance, for intuitive guidance, that is up to you. It's something I implement into my practice because it was very normal for me. I'm also a medium though, so I can't really go into a session without hella dead people popping in and the whole shamanic thing. Yeah, there's usually a lot of animals too. So it really depends on who you are as a practitioner, but calling in guides is not something that is traditional to Reiki. It's something that is more modern and is something that helps you open up the doors to other forms of energy work. Is that clear? Okay. Let me take a final sip of my goodbye demon drink. And let's continue. So we've talked a bit about purifying and cleansing in sacred space the other week. When we started, this is just the process. We're going to go through it one by one here. So when we start a healing session, and this will be focused for self, right? Just for self. What we're going to do is we are going to, where's my little jar? Not so little jar, actually. We are going to purify and cleanse. Lighter, lighter, where are you? What are you doing? Rude. Oh no, oh, it's on my, it's literally sitting with my sage in a shell over there. I'm not getting up for it. So this will be our form of cleansing, right? My sage is burning. It's cleansing. I have my sage bundle here. All my lovely twigs and sticks. Hey neighbors, just being weird here. Anyway. So we sage the space, and this could be your sacred space, right? So for me, even to just show you for the sake of showing you, I need to get all this stuff out of my way. Um, I always clear the whole space in front of me. Everything has energy, so I like it to be as minimal as possible around me. It helps my energy feel clearer and not feel so gunked up and heavy. And so now I have all this space, right? Even this lid drives me crazy. Cool. So I would sage this entire space around me. And after I sage it and I set my intention and I bless it with positivity and love and divine healing, I would go and ground and center and shield myself. So I'd sit with my hands in prayer, take a deep breath in. I breathe into the center of my body. It could be your solar plexus. It could be just you connecting with the center of your being, whatever resonates for you. And as I exhale, I visualize this line of energy going down into the earth. That's how I ground. I visualize this deep line of energy going down through all of my chakras, just kind of like a tunnel going down and connecting to the core of Mother Earth. And then I feel the core is this red, molten, kind of like lava ball that doesn't burn me. It's just like so full of life and energy and security and safety, right? Red. That red energy starts to come up through this connection. It goes up into my root chakra, spirals it open and clears it, goes up into my sacral, spirals it open and clears it, goes into my solar plexus, spirals it open and clears it, goes into my heart space, and it stops there. And I allow that earth energy to sit there, and I visualize that energy from the center of my being going up through my heart, my throat, my third eye, my crown, connecting to the sky above. And I call down this white, blue, divine energy from the sky, right down through my crown, third eye, throat, into my heart space. And each one spirals and clears as well. So now we have the earth and Father Sky in my heart. So I am grounded and I am centered. All of my chakras are now cleared and open, and they're centered in my heart space, right? Three below, three above, all in alignment, all open, and now all connected from the earth and the divine. As above, so below, right? They're bridged in the heart space. So I am grounded and I am centered. And then I have the intention of shielding. So my intention, you guys saw it, is I charge my shield to protect me. No harmful energy may enter. Only energy of my highest good may reach me. I charge my shield to protect me from physical, energetic, and psychic attack, harm, pollution, bad intention, or attachment, whether it be of my own making or of others. As I will, so mote it be. Shamanism, you use a lot of breath. I always put my hands back in prayer and I seal it. And that's kind of like blowing this cleansing smoke. Any distortions, any illusions, any energies that don't serve me are now out of that space and my shield's intact. That's what that means for me. You don't have to adopt that. That's just what I do. And I visualize my shield as a pyramid around me, a pyramid or kind of like a bubble and then a pyramid around that. But I typically always put a pyramid around me in some form as it's very protective. And then I call in my guides, right? I'll call in, I put my hand behind me because I have like a big cobra. I always call in and it literally just like expands out behind me and sits behind me. And it just lets me like sit in its coil pretty much. And its body is kind of like my backrest. Weird, I know, but it's how it's presented. And I'll call in any other animals. I mainly work with animals and angels, and I call in my angels that I work with. That's how I connect with my sacred space. I set the intention that in this sacred healing space, I call in my angels, ancestors, and guides. That's how I connect with sacred space. For you, it might be simply the intention of in this space, I now begin a Reiki healing session, right? That could be how you connect with your sacred space, but it's you connecting with it in the way that works for you. For me, I like to visualize like a whole freaking team of creatures with me, right? I like that. Then you set your intention, right? So your intention can be as simple as I now set the intention to channel divine Reiki healing energy and to practice a self-healing session. It could be as simple as that. It could be I now set the intention to clear any sadness or grief that is sitting in my heart space with divine Reiki healing energy, right? It could be I use divine white light to cleanse and purify my soul, body, mind, and spirit, right? Any intention that's of your highest good. Reiki is always positive, loving, healing intention of the highest good. Okay, with me so far? Because I know I'm moving pretty quickly through it, but does that all make sense? Okay. So we go through the Reiki healing, and I'll show you the hand placements for that here in a second. Let's say you've done the healing on yourself. When you're done with your healing, hands in prayer. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for today. Thank you for this healing energy. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to come back into balance and alignment with my higher self and my higher purpose. I'm so grateful for you and all that you shared with me today, right? Whatever gratitude works for you. That's typically my process, right? Um, I now allow all angels, ancestors, I thank all my angels, ancestors, guides, spirit animals, all the things. I thank them all for protecting me, for guiding me, for allowing me to work in a beautiful spiritual collaboration with them. I now allow you to return to the time and space in which you belong. And I thank you. And I just basically set the intention that everybody fly away, fly back away to wherever you want to be. That's cool. I appreciate you helping. And then I now close this session, right? And that's it. And once you close the session, you just scan yourself. You scan just like in your mind's eye, scanning your energy, like where do I feel heaviness? Where do I feel any tension? And as you scan yourself, you're just scanning your aura basically. You're after you've grounded, centered, and shielded yourself, you're going to scan if there's anything in that shield with you before you ground and center and shield again, right? Because what you're doing is you're just going to push it all down into the earth. And by pushing it down into the earth, because you're scanning, what you're doing is you're grounding. You're grounding back into your body. You're getting rid of anything in that space that's back in, that doesn't serve you, back down into the earth. So once we ground, you should already be centered because you just did a healing. So all your chakras should be balanced and in a healthy position. They should be open, but you just don't want them like overactive. You just want them spiraling, like nice little open chakras, orbs of energy on you that are functioning. It's like your light's on, light's not out, right? Cool. And then you shield yourself again because now you just cleared everything that might have been on you in your shield. You grounded it. Now you're going to put a new shield up again. Okay. And once you do that, then you sage yourself as you sit in the shield. You sage within your shield and around the outside of it, right? Because now you've grounded all the yuck and duck. You shielded yourself. You could even do it the opposite way. You can ground, then you can cleanse yourself in the space around you, and then you can put a new shield on if you want. I think honestly, that's what I end up doing more often anyway. After I ground anything on me and I cleanse the whole space, I do a double take. I ground anything again, even after I cleanse, and I shield myself. So that's what I mean by like, this is an outline. Play with it. Find what works for you. Doesn't mean you have to stick to it. If you want to switch one or two around or mush two of them together, that's fine too. But that's kind of the outline. So give me 2 seconds. We'll go on this in a second. Let's talk about this, the 3 pillars of Reiki. So your hands coming together in prayer, right? Anjali Mudra, as they call it in yogic terms. Here it's called the Gashao. This prepares us for Reiki and sets the foundation to healing. It holds the intention of gratitude, respect, focus, balance, and connection to the divine. We bring the hands together in prayer as a symbol of union of the divine father and mother, or God and goddess, right? So as I said, as above, Father Sky, as below, Mother Earth, and they're in the heart space. So when you put your hands here, you're honoring that connection with above and below, and knowing that you are one with both the physical experience, right? Your lower chakras, the physical world, and the ethereal and subtle energy experience, your upper chakras, the higher consciousness world, right? And your heart is the bridge between the two. Okay. The 2 hands represent the bridge of the physical and spiritual. Wow, here I am getting ahead of myself. It increases our awareness and provides us with the stillness needed to connect with the higher self. When you watch me do a shadowing session, you will see that I do go to here. This was very natural and organic for me, even before I knew the 3 pillars of Reiki. It was just very normal for me to bring my hands here. I don't know if it was from my yogic lens or what, but the Ragio is an invocation to our guiding spirits and intuition. So this is kind of where you'd call in your angels, your spirits and guides. You thank them for being with you in your session. And even when you close the session, after you clear the energy of yourself and you're getting ready to say your gratitude, you bring your hands back to here and you say, thank you, angel, spirits, and guides. And then you set your intention to close your session, right? But before you do that, so you're still opening, you prepare yourself, call in your guides, you do your treatment. And typically you put your hands on your belly for a navel treatment. And this is just where you basically radiate Reiki throughout your entire body, the chi rail. Okay. So this is the center that you'd be working on for your personal power and your vitality. And it's basically you just imagine the Reiki energy flowing out all over, and it just supplies the body with love and energy to perform Reiki on yourself and on others, and just to have it fill you in day-to-day life. Very relaxing practice, but the first two hand placements are a great way to open, call in guides, but also thank guides and bid them adieu and close your session. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about fluffing the aura. So when we're starting a session and you're cleansing the energy around you, I typically, on my first step after I ground center and open and shield myself, and about to start doing a self-treatment or a treatment on somebody else, I always clear the space. So this is called fluffing the aura. And we do this by opening our circuit, right? So you've grounded, you centered, and opened your chakras. Now you have the intention, after you've shielded, I'm now connecting to Reiki healing energy. Call on my angels and guides. Let's begin, right? How do we begin? We visualize this pillar of white light coming down from above, from Father Sky, because remember, that white light is now bridged to your heart space. You've opened up to spirit. You've opened up to the higher, right? So it starts to come down. It comes down through the crown, the third eye, and the throat, and it goes down your arms and into your hands. And it's still going down to your heart space, and it's mixing with the earth, and the earth pillar is grounding you. So none of this energy starts to overwhelm you. You're not overflowing. You're always connected to the earth, and you're always being grounded. With me so far? Thumbs up, anybody? Thank you. Okay. It's hard to know if you guys are really there if I can't see you. So I need a thumbs up every now and then, or I'm just gonna feel like I'm talking to some black boxes. So with this, we call in the white light. It comes down through our crown, through our third eye, through our throat, through our shoulders, through our hands, and it's also in the heart space, right? So visualize all this just lighting up with this bright white light, and it's just flowing through your hands. And so as it's flowing down, you see it's coming down through the crown. Even though it's coming down through the hands, it's still circulating now all around you, right? It's circulating all around through both palms in this infinite loop of energy over all time, over all space, expanding. But Mother Earth's energy is also circulating through you, right? It's always circulating. So your energy is always balanced, it's always being grounded, and it's always circulating all around you, this healing and grounding support of the earth and the sky. So now that you've had yourself open, you feel the Reiki flowing through your hands, you'll feel a mild little tingling, and you start to fluff your aura. What's this mean? It means that this person on the screen, they're going to start raising their hands and moving them in a circle. What you're doing is you're creating basically an energetic dust storm, and you are going to push all the dust bunnies out of your aura. And you'll notice, you can even do this now. You can go ahead and just put your hands together in prayer. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, I want you to slowly open your crown, or just have the intention of the top of your head opening and the beautiful white light coming down through the top of your head, down your neck, your shoulders, down into the heart, down your arms, through the palms of your hands, and just feel it in your palms for right now. Feel that white light expanding through your palms, expanding more and more. And I want you to continue to visualize this white light moving through your palms, and slowly start to move your palms away from one another. And feel how that energy actually increases, right? Those proprioceptors that we were talking about. You have more space to feel the energy now. So this is where people start to create this energetic ball between their hands, right? So I want you to start creating this energy ball between your palms. Just visualize this white light coming out of the center of your hands, creating this beach ball between your fingers, maybe the size of a volleyball, and just hold it there. Now, what I want you to do I want you to slowly allow your hands, your fingers, keep them where they are, but allow your fingers to expand a little more. Feel how that energy shifts. And if you feel it diminish a little, it's just because there's more surface area now, right? So I want you to imagine that white light to expand between your fingertips. And for that ball to be a little bigger, you're just reaching all around it. That intention alone typically brings back that sensation between your hands. It's all intention, okay? So now what I want you to do, move your hands a little closer again. Feel that pressure between your fingers, your palms. Feel that white light. And I want you to slowly turn your palms forward. And you might feel the energy diminish again. What I want you to do is allow your palms to face towards the ceiling now. And visualize like you're holding an orb in each palm. And you'll start to feel that energy come back. Just imagine that white light coming down through your head, your arms, your forearms, your wrists, your palms filling with these orbs of white light. And now these orbs of white light are your magic erasers. Okay? I want you to visualize a bubble around you. That is your aura. That is your energetic bubble. And I just want you to start to close your eyes and just move your hands in circles, almost like you're clearing away any yuck and guck all in your aura, all around your body, behind you, down your back, down your legs, through the floor. And just take the next minute and just really spread this white light, this energy all around you. Just connect with that. Okay. And typically when we do this, we start to feel where there's heaviness in our space, where there's density in our space, right? And you might start to feel lighter. Your head might start to feel a little heavy. If that's the case, allow that energy to flow through the soles of your feet. Reconnect with your feet. Even if you haven't done the full grounding, simply having the intention of that energy going down through the soles of your feet will help lighten your headspace. Okay. So as we move our arms in circles like this, what you're doing is you're opening up your heart space. You're opening up your hands to receive because your palms are open, and you're expanding your energy to take up more space, and you're lightening it, right? Beautiful. Okay. Questions, comments. This would be a great time for discussion too, about what you experienced if you want to turn your mics on, because we only got a few minutes left. Anybody? Okay. Okay. So we fluff our aura and then we move into our self-treatment. So here are the self-treatment hand positions. Okay. So you don't have to follow the way they are on this chart. There's another chart for you over here. I'm going to go over this one just because the pictures are a little bigger. So obviously for a crown, you can hover your hands on top of your head. This is great for if you have migraines, you have headaches, you want to clear your crown chakra. We're going to be working with the chakras for level 1. So with the crown, you can hold your hands here. You will find that I typically always have a guiding hand, my left hand. Doesn't have to be your left, but for me it is. And I have a working hand, right? You'll see this a lot with energy practitioners. The guide hand, think of it as like you're doing pottery. Like this hand is supporting the piece that you're making, and this is the hand that's doing the work. It's just guiding the energy. It's guiding the vortex. Okay, so this hand will be here, and I send that white light down through my crown. You would typically hold this for 3 to 5 minutes to work on the crown. You could also work on the crown this way. You could put your hands literally on your head. You could put your hands like this. That is the crown. For the third eye, you can put your hands, we're just going to get rid of, oh no, I'll leave it up for now. We're going to put our hands on the sides. You put your hands front and back. You can have one hand on the side and one hand on the front and just put white light into both. It's just play around with the center around your head. But when we start to move in a circular motion, doesn't matter which way, but once you pick a way, try to rotate them all in the same direction so they're all spiraling in the same direction and your intention for your energy is clear. This is what starts to awaken the energy to move and clear out any heaviness. Okay? Then we move down to the throat. The throat is the space that is very delicate. The reason I'm not partial to the picture that is here is because of the clasping, okay? Some people like this, some people don't. For self-treatment, you'd never do this to a client. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say it very loudly. Never grab a client's throat, period. I don't care what you think. Don't do it. I don't condone it. That's my practice. If you want to do it on your own, whatever, but don't do it. Just don't. Do not. You don't know somebody's history. You don't know if they've experienced assault, abuse, whatever. Don't touch the throat. Throat, ankles, wrists. Do not touch them. They're the primary areas of the body that get grabbed when assaulted. Don't grab them. Don't touch them. It could be a massive trigger for somebody. Okay? We'll go over that more in level 2. Throat, you hover above. The throat is also a very delicate center, and it rules very delicate organs in the body, like the thyroid, for instance. And so I typically have a hand in front and a hand to the side. Okay? Hands here is really good to introduce energy. If I have hands here, even on myself, I allow the energy to come through the back of my throat and almost like push all the yuck and duck out the front, and I allow the center to clear in that way. If you want to clasp your own hands here, that's fine. But even for like you'll notice, practice on yourself. This does not feel like healing. This actually triggers a very primal response in us when we grab the neck like this. So it's actually better to put open palm and open palm. And you'll feel that by having your hands in what we call butterfly, this actually sends more healing if you want to use both hands, right? Because you're not clasping and grabbing, your palms are open. You're just kind of like hanging them out there. This naturally triggers a very primal response in us of fight or flight, even if it's very subtle, even if you do it to yourself. There's a discomfort with it. I'm not fond of that image. I wish I could find another, but I can't. Another thing is you could also just put 2 hands like this. You can have a hand on the heart, hand on the throat, or a hand on the thyroid, a hand on the throat. Okay. Never grab somebody's throat. Never. Never, 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 never. In case you didn't hear me, never. Okay? When we get to the heart space, hand, hand. Some people teach hand over hand. If you want to practice that way, you can. I like this actually. I think the heart is the only one I do my hand over hand. It's almost like a hug for the heart to me. I really like this. It's very comforting, and I visualize this like white light clearing everything out through the back of my body. Visualization is really key with this, but you could also just have a hand almost like here, guiding hand, putting white light in. This is the hand that's clearing it and balancing it and making it shine bright green. Like this, I feel a lot more. I will say that. I feel this a lot more, whereas this is kind of like emotionally comforting. This is like, whoa, let's clear out some heaviness, some density in this space. Okay? Okay. When you get to the solar plexus is 2 inches below the heart and, well, it's basically at the top of your rib cage, really. So maybe not 2 inches below the heart. It's at the top of the rib cage, a few inches above your navel, I should say. And you could put one hand here, another hand on your upper back if you have the mobility to do that with your shoulder, because this and then tilting up and back is hard. If you don't have that mobility. So don't put your body under tension if you can't do it. I know for me, I prefer to do it that way. I like front and back, but you can also have your hands on the ribs and send the healing into the sides of your body, or you could send them here, or you can have one on the side, heal for a little bit on that side, one on this side. This is really good if you want to work on your lungs. If you want to work on your rib cage and the solar plexus, putting white light all through here, visualizing that solar plexus first, and then working on the lungs, that's a great way to expand beyond just your chakra system. Okay. Questions so far on anything? No comments, nothing. Okay. Are you guys there? Can you like give me a thumbs up? Let me know that you're there. Thank you. Okay. So solar plexus, upper stomach, basically what we just covered. Sacral would be 2 inches below your navel. When it comes to women, hover your hands here. I feel a lot of women are very self-conscious about this space. You'll get to know your clients, but or even anybody. A lot of people are self, it doesn't matter what they are, really. Um, when it gets to below the navel, I really hover my hands the whole way down. Unless I'm working on somebody's thighs or like I have a hand on open palms, like in yoga or in our certification, we called it creepy fingers. You don't want grabby, creepy fingers, right? Your finger should always be flexed up. So if it's on somebody's palm or on somebody's body, your fingers don't touch. Creepy fingers, yuck. No touchy, right? We want that very clean. I have a good intention of just sending healing through my palm. That's if you do want to do hands-on healing. So no creepy fingers, pure fingers, right? No touchy. Cool. And so that would only be if you want to put your hands on their hips, right? Typically for yourself, if you want to put your hands on your hips, on your lower back, on your lower abdomen, you could do that. You're basically placing your hand over where the chakra is. So the sacral chakra is 2 inches below the navel. So it'd be basically in line with the top of your hips. And you could put your hands like this over one another. That's how I naturally put it for the sacral. Or you put your hands like this, and kind of sit them in your hip crease and put that energy in towards the bladder, the uterus, whatever you're working on. Okay. Um, when it comes to other areas of the body, such as the root chakra is at your tailbone. So you could send the healing. I want to have my little Mother Earth statue here. I typically picture myself sitting Indian style like I am now. And I just visualize sending, like I'll have my hands up here and I'll just visualize that white light going into my root at the base of my tailbone, okay? Because it's not really something you're typically gonna stick your hand on because it's low. It's down there. It's by your booty. Okay. So this is a great place to put one hand on the lower back if you want, at the base of like right at the top of your buttocks, but kind of like where your sitting bones begin. You have a hand there on your lower back and have another hand here and have the intention of sending that white light into your root, and you will definitely feel it. Okay. Um, so it's up to you where you'd like to place your hands for that one. It's a little bit more intimate, so it's a no touchy with other people. Okay. Um, when it comes to traps, shoulders, pretty self-explanatory. You put your hands there, you're working on your traps and your neck. You want to work on your forearms, you want to work on a shoulder, you want to work on a bicep. You could do it both hands if you have the mobility to. You could do it one, you could do bear hugs where you're sending healing this way. It's whatever floats your boat. Legs, the same thing. For legs for self, you would just put your hand on your thigh, hand on your knee, hand on your calf and your shin, ankle, foot, toe, so on and so forth. Okay. Um, Typically you would practice each area for 3 to 5 minutes. For a 20-minute session, you do them for 2 minutes each, okay? But that is the hand placements. This chart here is a really good example in regards to chakras. You'll see that crown, and then you have third eye, third eye. You have throat. That's another one that's very common, is they basically are doing butterfly again. And they put their hands like this. I think her fingers are open though. I don't like anything clasping, so I typically stick with butterfly. It's very like non-invasive and it's non-threatening, whether it be to yourself or somebody else. But again, I work with a lot of trauma-based clients, so that's something I have to be mindful of in my practice. You may not attract that at all. I do. Then you have the heart, followed by position 7 is solar plexus. This would be solar plexus again. This would be sacral, and this would be root. A lot of people consider the palms facing down through the hips to be a root chakra because the intention is that the energy is flowing down into that center, whereas this is sacral. Does that make sense? Thank you. Okay. Um, okay. We did it. We did all the things with time to spare too. That's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. And I'm shocked I didn't lose my voice. Okay, let me end this share. What questions do you have? Mics can be on, all the things. Questions, comments, any of it.
Well, for me, um, I really like the concentration on self-care because I've been in this arena before, and I
Mhm.
don't think they really emphasized how important that 21 day of kind of getting real with your body is.
Yeah.
And I
I didn't know
thought
you
that
had been
was,
attuned before.
yeah, a long, long time ago.
Oh yeah.
So it was old fashioned, different way,
Oh
but
yeah.
so I wanted to get a refresher and this is very refreshing, but I really like that you really get your body, prepared. I think that's really, really good. I
Which
would,
brings me to the next thing. Let's go over that attunement workbook before we get into your attunements. How about that?
yeah,
Let's look at that.
yeah.
Um, any other questions before I open up some other things? Um, okay. Um, let me see if I have this downloaded on my computer actually, so I don't have to share it on. Yeah. Um, do, 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 do. Beautiful. You're gonna open up? Where did it open up? Don't tell me it opened up. Of course it did, right behind the Zoom call, and I didn't see it. Okay, let's share this bad boy. Zoom, you're really messing with me right now. Where's my little bar to share all the things? Um, let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, can you see it? Yay, perfect. 21-day attunement. So you're going to have the Reiki principles, and then you can set your intention for your attunement. Even after you've gotten it, you can set your intention of what you want from the process. Here are some of those visuals again, and these ones pretty much go over your chakras as well as some additional poses in there for you. Um, Self Reiki is important in Reiki attunement. So it just goes through some things we've already covered. So here's your 21-day cleanse. In the 21 days following your Reiki attunement, it's highly recommended that you care for yourself and nurture this new energy by engaging in beneficial activities. So that's eat well, eliminate junk and processed foods, have downtime, get plenty of sleep, meditate, alcohol, cigarettes, even weed to a minimum, drink plenty of water, avoid stressful situations and dynamics, cut down on TV, doom scrolling, social media, all of it. Because here's the thing when it comes to television and social media, what we're doing is we're filling our third eye and our crown that is now infused with all this divine Reiki healing energy with these external stories, whether they be fantastical like Harry Potter, or they be things from the news and politics with things that might be of a lower frequency. So the more we kind of start to minimize the intake of this other information, the more our frequency has the freedom to shift because it's not being overwhelmed with new energies. Okay. And take up moderate exercise. This could be 20, 30 minutes of walking a day by getting your body moving and walking. Walking's great. Ellipticals are great because that bilateral stimulation of right, left is actually really good for your subconscious mind to start processing things out. So to walk and listen to affirmations, to have a walking meditation, basically, or to walk and just be mindful and look at the trees and feel the warmth of the sun. Things like that will also shift your frequency because you're starting to bring your nervous system back into balance. Okay. So each week is a little different. Week one, you're gonna work on each chakra for 15 minutes. Meaning like you'll have 7 days and one chakra. So you work on the root chakra on day one for 15 minutes. That's it. That's your only practice. Work on the root for 15 minutes. On day two, you work on your sacral for 15. Day three, solar plexus for 15. Day four, the heart, so on and so forth. Okay, you only have to work on one chakra a day for just 15 minutes. In week two, you're going to have both hands on the root chakra for 2 minutes. And you're going to do this every day. You're going to go from the root for 2 minutes, the sacral 2 minutes, the solar for 2 minutes, the heart, throat, third eye, and crown, each for 2 minutes. And that will be your whole practice for one day. So 7 chakras, 2 minutes each. That's 14 minutes of a self-healing. And you do that for week two. For every day moving forward, right? So for all of week two, you just do that 14-minute cleanse on yourself, 2 minutes on each chakra. If you want to get crazy, you can make it 5 minutes each chakra. I know a lot of students actually listen to the frequency playlist I gave them. There's certain frequency playlists that are like 20-minute or 15-minute cleanses, and they have the sound playing, and every time the sound changes, they just shift to a new chakra, and they find that to be very helpful to help them really connect with that energy center. So if you want to listen to that and have like your energy clearing as well as a little sound bath while you do it as a nice little guide so you don't have to have a timer or anything, that's a very helpful way to kind of get you connected to it. So week one chakra at a time. Week two, all 7 chakras once a day. Okay. Week three, you're going to start practicing working on 2 chakras at once. So you're going to start with both hands on the root. You're going to cleanse that for 2 minutes. You're going to keep one hand on the root, move the other to the sacral, and you're going to hold that for 2 minutes. You'll keep your hand on the sacral, move the one that's on your root up to your solar plexus. So you're basically just starting to slowly climb up your body, one hand over the other. And each time you move a hand, you hold for 2 minutes till you get through each of your chakras. Okay? Does that make sense? Woohoo. Cool. Thank you. And so you're going to do this every day. These numbers are not each day do this, right? These are like, this is your step for a single healing in a day. You're going to go through all of your chakras. Okay. Cool. What's going on here? Okay. Here's some daily breathing practices, but you also have updated, this is a very old workbook. You have updated, I might even update this for you guys by the end of your program. Who knows, knowing me. But you have updated breathing exercises in the workbook I posted already on the page on the group chat. So if you want to explore some of those, go ahead and do a breath work once a day, or maybe kind of make this like maybe you do an energy healing, and after or before your energy healing, you do a 5-minute breathing exercise. So you could do it when you start, you could do it at the end, you could do both, right? But maybe set aside 30 minutes because each of these cleanses that you do on yourself are only 15 minutes total max, right? So if you want to give yourself a 20-minute self-care session, it could be 5 minutes of breath work and then a 15-minute self-care Reiki session. Okay. But practice for at least 5 minutes a day and maybe increase up to 30 whenever you're comfortable. And then your daily practice time, right? So take some practice to connect with your chakras, to ground and center and shield yourself. I'll have that example up for you guys by the end of today, if not tomorrow. And keep forgetting I'm not on the clicking anymore. I have to scroll. So deep energy breathing for self-healing and pain relief. You could do this if you wanted. These again are just some additional breathing exercises. So it's 12 sets, 3 times per day. Take 3 deep breaths. Stand with feet about 12 inches apart. Raise your arms with elbows bent above your head and make hands into fists. Inhale quickly, deeply through your nose. As you inhale, visualize universal life force. Exhale by forcefully blowing air out through your mouth, while at the same time forcefully pull both arms down, swinging them backwards. So this is, don't do this. This is actually a yoga. This is what they gave me during my cleanse when I got certified. So basically what you're doing is you're cleansing your, I can't swing my hands because I'll hit this really hard. But this is a third eye purifier. That's what this is actually in yogic philosophy. It cleanses all distortion, all illusion out of the third eye. And so basically you'd be kneeling on the ground, and it's a killer for your hamstrings and your glutes too, because you hinge forward, and when you go down, you tap your forehead to your mat. You inhale, raise your hands up. When you exhale, you go back down and tap your forehead to the mat. And the whole time you're kneeling, you don't bend, you just hinge at your hips. And so you're holding yourself up with your hamstrings and your glutes. So don't worry about this. Don't do this because I don't need any of you coming in with bruised foreheads or damaged hips or any of that. Just, I don't know. I think my master was a little ruthless. um, Here's some affirmations for you guys as well. And then you have your workbook that you get to fly through. And there's some questions and prompts if you're curious about what to write about, or if you even want to write at all. I know a lot of people like to explore kind of how they feel day and night as they continue through their self treatment. They like to reflect on it. If that's not your vibe, it's not your vibe, but I highly recommend at least giving it a shot. Okay. And then it's just the same thing for every day, pretty much. So let's end that share. And then the other thing that we have for you is the Takata handout. I'll post your that workbook. I'm still trying to figure out how to get the main workbook up. I don't know why all of a sudden it's giving me some issues, but it is. But other than that, any questions before we do your attunement?
No, I'm good.
Okie dokie. Well, guys, if
So
you'll
I just wanted to clarify that for the Reiki that you just walked through, like the week one, week two, week three, that each time that ideally we're doing that every day. And each time we do it, we're going through that 10-step list of like purification, grounding, cleansing, shielding, connecting with our ancestors, sacred space. We're doing that as well.
Yes, if you want to, you
Okay.
can. If you want to, you can go through that whole process. This is more
Okay.
so because this is my lens on it. You could take it if you want. In
Hmm.
order to do a self-treatment, we have to be grounded, centered, and shielded, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Yeah, for sure. I recommend doing that. I know
Okay.
some teachers just are like, no, just have the intention of turning your Reiki on. I highly recommend getting into the practice of grounding, shielding, and centering, because right now it might take you 20, 30 minutes on its own to do that.
Hmm.
And the more you practice it through this attunement, the more you're telling your energy, I'm evolving. This is something that's going to be second nature to me. And soon
Hmm.
you're going to be like, this is like a 2 minute thing. I can pop
Right.
on down and visualize it and come right back up and be fine.
Right. Cool. Thanks, Jordan.
You're so welcome. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Nell, I'm going to kick
Yeah.
you out and
Yeah.
I'll shoot you a text with a new Zoom link, and we will do your attunement here shortly. Okay. Beautiful. I will see you soon. I'm going to stop this recording.